So then becomes Elferrat. What's an Elferrat? Well, I brought here, this is the only thing I actually rescued from the papers that I had prepared, is from 2000, 2001, going back from my home club where I grew up as a young man. And some of those guys in here from the Elferrat, they were with me in the Prinzengarde. You know, you grow up, you have to go through the ranks. You don't just start as an officer, you have to start as the Schütze im letzten Glied. So I let that thing go around, but first, Elferrat is also the, they have a position in Germany. And if you look at this page up front, you can see, and if you don't understand it, but it is all in German, they have, of course, an honorary president, the president and the vice president, two of them. Then they have the Finanz-, Außenschrift, Requisitenminister, and so on. So in Germany, an Elferrat does have something to do. It's not like very often here, we're staying on the stage and saying Prost and hello, and unfortunately, we have too many of those and not enough to do the work. And I'm sure I see a lot of people going there, it's the same thing everywhere. You don't get enough people. Now we have down here, and I like to present to you Heino Müller. He's the newest Elferrat at the Phoenix Club. He just joined us too. We have lots of people who had never any experience of Carnival in Germany at all. When we grew up and we came over here, so yeah, they had heard of Carnival thing here. So we had a pretty difficult time after the war. They had the, I mean, when we came over, started, yeah, let's start an Elferrat and a princess, and a prince, and yeah, then what are we gonna do? Well, we do some Bündnerreden. So I combine this a little bit so that what I call the German-American Carnival's history here, how we go. Like when I visited Kitchener, there's 112, 114 years old, I believe, who have a Carnival's group too. They have survived that long. Here, Cincinnati, how old are you guys now?
64.
64, so we are only 45 here from us, but I came to quite a few, and I'm really proud of what most of us here have accomplished in the United States, but it always comes back to the question, Elferrat, what's an Elferrat? Well, that's the court of jesters, they give them all kinds of names. And we need to realize that, as I said, the work that needs to be done. A group to be successful needs a good leader, but it also needs some help. This is where we're lacking a little bit, and especially then when you have rules like we did. Before we brought some people in, I have just a couple of my Elferrat walked in here. On Tuesday, nobody said they would be coming, so I hope nobody shows up again. So. Anyway, Elferrat is a very important position in Germany, and that's what we have to or should do over here too. As I say, it's not just coming in then, and when I see, like last night, it hurts me when I see the Elferrat coming in and going like this. What we call Scheibenwischer, or the windshield wipers, you know. So the thing where I grew up, and as I say, Germany is so diverse in Carnival customs, from Cologne, Aachen, Mainz, all over now, especially now since after the war and the unification. We had Berlin here, forever you were here, we had the Berlin Prinzenpaar, the Munich Prinzenpaar. We even now have, from what I understand, Mexicans have become a full member. I heard that yesterday, so they're really growing and making it international. Let me ask the Vice President, do we have any plans on changing the name of GAMGA?
No. Absolutely.
We were talking about it last night, but the new name would be. Anyway, so Elferrat is. There are sometimes people on the Elferrat who really shouldn't be there, but we want to look good on the stage and have 11 people there. right? He's smiling there. He knows what you're talking about. Everybody wants to come, wants to look good, and you know what I noticed in our club is simply that we have rehearsal day before opening. Boy, there's nobody's missing when it comes to the pictures. But when it comes to the rest of the time, they always have a lot of excuses, and sometimes you scramble to putting 11 guys up there on the stage. So let me ask you a question. You all probably have those funny hats, right? This big thing up there. Does anybody know why that thing is that long? Well, it's mostly, I mean, the women is not exactly the same, but it is, guys, when you go to the bathroom and you're drunk, that your head doesn't fall into the wall.
Yeah, I'm glad you explained that.
So this is not a full Elferatsmütze, this is a Sitzungsmütze, but we call it, it's a little shorter because you don't get as drunk as on the big one. A little humor there, you got the Elferats. You should have the position that grew up is the, while the clubs got bigger and bigger, there was positions that needed to be filled. So, who is our Elferat in here? And your positions? You what?
I didn't know what you said. Who is on?
Oh, yeah, who's an Elferat and what is your function? Let me ask you this.
Override.
You what?
I'm in the override.
The Elferat, and what is your function in the Elferat?
To do the bidding of the prince. And he has us to go on.
Okay.
I'm the ordnance minister.
Okay, we should have started this a few years ago. You had somebody to take care of the ordnance, yeah. I call it Ordensoffizier, but basically it's take care of the ordnance. This is basically so a thing in here. Then we have a finance guy because there is somewhere along the line somebody keeps a protocol. I have somebody keeping, or we have, I should say, we, because I'm a new Elferats president, they're whole guys. We have somebody who makes the protocol, and the Elferat does it himself, you know. So jobs that have to be done, which is with you people, you have problems of getting Elferat. You have problems when you say you want to have a new uniform or hats or things like this. The contribution. Yeah. You know that in Germany to become Elferat you have to be usually pretty good in the money in order to fulfill your function there. I remember when I started out with, we had a Requisitenminister. He took care of just the uniforms from the Elferat and from the Prinzengarde. Each year, when we had our dress rehearsal, we all had to come, including the Elferat, and everything was checked out again and so on. But there's usually people who are really the business community over there. That's what we need to think people that it is an honor really to be at Elferat, to become this functioning governing body. As it's sometimes really difficult to find words in English that kind of mean the same. But Elferat is the one that makes the rules. I don't know if you have any problems in the past with the women sometimes. Our Prinzengarde, we had a couple of Palastrevolutionen where they want to run and things in here. That's why also in Germany now you have quite a few female Elferats.
Yeah.
You might have noticed that. In the old days there was no way where the women would have gotten in.
There's some of the functions that we're responsible, both individually and as a group, to make sure that they all happen and everybody has fun.
All right.
Which group is this from?
This is TED Edelweiss.
Edelweiss.
Okay.
Exactly which city are you guys in? Denver?
Yes.
Right in the.
Oh, okay, them here. Yeah. There was another, you know the one that Edelweiss am Rio Grande?
It's Albuquerque.
Albuquerque,
It's
that's what
over
it's
there.
called, Mexico, that's where I was. There, That's good, I like this one here. You're one of the more traditional ones. By this I mean,
What is that?
okay, this is just a schedule. So it says here sketch Fasching opening, see, I call it Fasching. So whoever founded this, they're the one that were from the south, from the Munich area. That's why we have Fastnacht, Carnival, Fastnet and all those different names. Lumpenbau, wow. They have it on January the 9th. We have it after the season. It's another one what the Phoenix Club does is, in the past we were so full that at 8 o'clock we had to close the doors. It's not anymore now, but at 8 o'clock you couldn't get in anymore because we were already too full. Now we, and that's when they, at the end of the season, after Ash Wednesday, we had a Lumpenball, and there became a certain tradition of burying the prince. And there were quite some messy princess funeral, I tell you that. And when I then got involved, it's the first thing I tried to cut out. They brought a guy in the coffin, and then the rest of them put beer and all kinds of stuff in there. I mean, beer was the nice stuff. Some of them threw some garbage in there, and then at the end I brought them around there. So the animosity they had built up over the season for the prince then, and really got, and as an Elferrat who had been in Fasching in Germany, that was just something I could not tolerate. So today we just bring him and make a little funeral, everybody black, and speak a few words and say goodbye and so on. But I'm actually more interested in how they're going. But this year, I really love what you guys are doing.
Yes,
This is Carnival.
yes.
Carnival is not very often that's common to make an Elferrat's president, the prince and the princess, and a couple more guys and a couple of kids, and this is a Karnevalsverein. Now, let's go on here. They have Kappenabend.
Oh, that's funny.
Right. Royal Ball, Weiberfasching, and a Sitzung, Maskenball, and Kinderfasching.
And at Weiberfasching, we're required to dress accordingly.
We had that too. Unfortunately, with us in Southern California, it didn't quite go often enough. We had Monday night, we tried this. It's just, our program evolved into Saturday nights, and there was lots of dancing. When I became Elferrat's president, I said, no, we gotta have a Sitzung. And, oh, no, we cannot do this. People want to dance, the Americans want to dance. I said, yeah, but we want to keep up the traditions. They said, give me a Sunday afternoon. So I started our Sitzung on Sunday afternoon, and it's still on Sunday afternoon. This is how it gets to, but Elferrat needs to work together, and the spirit, this is why I really love this, because I cannot say we have this many varieties. We have three. We have the opening, 3 balls. We have Kinder and Prunksitzung, and then the Lumpenball, which I wanted to say, our Lumpenball evolved that we were so popular that people didn't want to stop. That's when we put in the Lumpenball, saying, well, we got no more money and everybody comes in rags. We spend all the money on the Saturday after Fasching, which actually goes against the rules, by tradition. But one of us tried to get to, we felt like we have to make compromises here, what fits. So we have an official program, some dancing, and we make some skits and things like this, and have our traditional parade ball. Ours has evolved slightly different. But after I got to Germany a few years ago there too, I took the contract again with my group from our Prinzengarde that was in there now. They don't have many left. There's mostly dancing guards. Elferrat they're all officers now in my club. And then after you grow up over there and you are the younger ones, then they're going into the Elferrat. And very often the prince that you have recruited, which of course in Germany is quite a expensive thing. It seems to be turning into an expensive thing here too. The expectations to get all those freebies, those parties now on Saturday nights. We used to have just a few clubs who had one, and it was mostly internal. Then they started one when I was here, and then I had a speaker said, well, why don't we have one too? So we visited each other at the party. We visited each other in San Diego and in Anaheim. So the parties here have become, and I look at the evening, and all of a sudden I think it's empty, and you have a few numbers, and sweet here, sweet there. Everybody has more fun on the singing here, but I shouldn't talk so much about the thing. As for Elferrat, the expectations of an Elferrat in Germany are so different than here. Would you like to say something in the way of how yours runs and your problems that you have is the Elferrat here?
The way we have it set up is the Elferrat is the governing body of the Karnevalsgesellschaft. We make the rules. President of the Karnevalsgesellschaft can be any member that gets the vote. We are fortunate enough have Dan is our Karnevalsgesellschaftspräsident, but he's also Elferrat member. And when we started out, we had tough time by forming the Karnevalsgesellschaft, just getting enough members to be part of it. Eventually, we had enough just to fill the Elferrat. Then we started out with a problem because suddenly we had more members. And who are we? Well, you're a member. If you're good enough and work hard enough, you can become an Elferrat member. And when we have it set up, Elferrat member, any member from the Karnevalsgesellschaft can become an Elferrat member if he gets voted in by the Elferrat. And we have it by two-thirds majority vote. So we try to protect ourselves from ourselves.
I have a question. How many Elferrat members do you have in your?
We have 11 Elferrat.
So
we had at one time we had what did we call it? Alternate. But it never. The Elferrat, the 11 votes. The alternates could participate, but at that point, if all the Elferrats were there, they did not have a vote. We did not have more votes than 11. And so far, we are doing fine. The understanding, naturally, a lot of people like to be in the Elferrat, but everyone has a good reason not to do anything.
That's exactly what I said earlier, right?
is your position in the Elferrat, is it a permanent position, or do you have to be reelected?
No, you are, as long as you stay in, unless you do something that is derogatory to the Elferrat.
Sure.
But as long as you do what you have to do, you stay in till you resign or you retire. A retired Elferrat member becomes a senator.
If anybody saw that little booklet here, my little write-up, that's exactly what I'm saying. That maybe we should, in our group, start a senate for the older ones, get them out. Some of them sometimes have a hard time getting up on the stage, but it won't hold them back from drinking.
First things first.
Yeah, right. We have ours pretty much set like that. I'm from Central Florida. And we have the select 11, and then we have the 4 alternates. But each year, the Carnival Gesellschaft is authorized to vote if they feel that one of the Elferod is no longer, should be on the Elferod. And if he is voted, if we get enough votes, then the Elferod will set him aside and bring in one of the alternates, and then ask for a new alternate. That's the way we do it there.
Has that ever happened?
Yes. Yes, we've had two of them that we've asked to step down, totally step down.
For what reason?
We've got one this year that more than likely will be forced to step down. Because she has a hard time walking.
I'm curious how that,
Okay.
how has that gone over with the club? Because I was reading that and I was thinking, that is something San Diego, just like the other clubs, we have our problems with, you've got about half the Elferot that's quite active and is instrumental in running Carnival and many parts of it. But there's also a number of people that have just been there for years and years, and to try to take some of those people that say have been in the club way longer than myself and ask them to step down.
That's-
I think words are extremely divisive, and I'm just curious what your experience was with that sort of thing.
We had some internal problems, naturally. And
Who doesn't in the German club? Nach Parole, jedem Deutschen sein Verein.
And the first one that we asked step down, or told him that he had to step out of the Elferod completely, was very bitter about it. And the reason that we asked him to step down was mainly he had very bad drinking.
Oh yeah,
Among
that's.
other things. And he thought that anything, he was the boss. Nobody else was, he couldn't change nothing. And we had to get that out of him because we're trying to bring in the young people, and that's absolutely impossible when you have the strictness that, like you were talking about, if you don't speak German, you're not in. Well, I would say 95% of ours don't even know how to speak German, let alone sing the songs.
That's one of the problems we immigrants have.
So, I mean, you know, we had the bitterness there, but we've gotten over that.
I know, as an Elferat, when I was Elferat's president in the old club, I suspended once a Hofdame for 6 months because she had the same problem. You know? And when she starts making handstands, showing.
Oh my God, okay.
So,
Entertainment.
I mean, we all have probably similar problems as you see in here. But the Elferat with us, as you see in my picture, we have about 16 or so on, which is too often. Here is one of my Kellermeister and Mundschenk. And then one of them is the guy who does the DJing, the music. And then we have
The Hofmarschall.
Hofmarschall is one of our, and in the pictures very often he's as a Hofmarschall. So by the end it comes out, we had up as many as 17 or 18 Elferat. But I always try to only have 11 on the stage, which is sometimes even then difficult, even though they get all the free booze. They try to make it attractive. So the Elferat in the United States versus the Elferat in Germany, this German Karneval, is quite a bit different. So while over there everyone does have a real function, there is a couple of days, 2, 3, depends on what, sometimes they're responsible for the program. Then you have singing. Now this has evolved. Ours, the Elferat's president, is also the MC. We had Elferat's president that couldn't speak, so we had to have an MC. Then, you know, plus within the Phoenix Club, I don't know how some of them, as I mentioned earlier, Phoenix Club, we have 15, 16 different groups. Carnival was one. They couldn't call him president. There was the group leader. It's very often you find sometimes in the older magazines a group leader. And then when we had contact with Germany, what's the group leader? Yeah, why don't you call him president? Well, we have a president. There was once a group went to Germany, and the guy who interviewed him in the paper, they said he's the Elferrat's president. But it came out what they printed was the president of the Phoenix Club, which of course that real president of the Phoenix Club flew off the handle, which is understandable. But if you have ever had a contact with the press, you got to be very careful and emphasize what you want to have printed in this case. So I was involved, and we emphasized Elferrat's president and group leader. We still write in there, so there is no animosity between the board of directors, which we have at the moment, what, two in there?
Yeah.
4? Oh yeah, 2 women there, yeah. The way I say this, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it offensive, but we have, okay, let's not get too much into this. Our structure is simply that the club is the club and the Carnival's group. And over the years, when you read my little thing here, it came from Carnival's group to Carnival's Gesellschaft, Phoenix Club Karnevalsgesellschaft, and then Anaheim Karnevalsgesellschaft. Because we came over here, oh Phoenix, yeah, you're from Arizona. No, we're from Anaheim. And why are you Phoenix? So we had a little problem there, identifying, and I tried over the years now to make it show an AKG, you know, Anaheim Karnevalsgesellschaft. So to be a little bit different, but I'm still, our emblem is still from the Phoenix Club, but we made it like this over here. So it's the problems we encounter here in the United States is the first of all identification. When you visit, and we have visited a lot in the last few years, there were quite a few Prinzenpairs were over there, and a few Elferrat and some Garde. It's always though, okay, Carnival, Phoenix Club. There is no Phoenix Carnival, and then it gets with Arizona. So for identification purposes, we tried this, and so far it works. I don't know what Holger has in mind, how he's going to direct in the future. But I was trying to make a separation between the Phoenix Club, what I say Anaheim Karnevalsgesellschaft, and the Phoenix Club. So our Elferrat mostly are somebody involved, and I hope that the newer generation, as you can see over there, our new president and last year's prince, and my son here, we got to get those younger ones in. And the newest one, he's a little up in age, closer to me than to my son, but I know he's a very nice guy, so we just wanted him in there too this week. So Elferrat's positions, what you need to do as a leader is make him work, and it's not easy. Very often, and I'm sure Holger finds this right now too, he's also vice-president of the GAMGA, Elferrat's president of the Anaheim Karnevalsgesellschaft. He has his hands full. So then he needs people who help him out then. And I have tried over the years, if you look at my magazines the last 10 years, I gave him positions. And I even had a web minister, I had a communications minister and so on, and trying to do a little bit, but get the guys to help is the most difficult. And you know you have your troops that you can always depend on. It's always the same when it comes then to working. And I don't know, how are you going to get your income, if you don't mind me asking?
We used to have it where Germania itself is the main club. Germania Society of Cincinnati, Ohio. The Karnevalsgesellschaft is a section.
Just like us.
And so we have right now 3 major sections. There's the Carnival, the Schützenverein, and the Schunkel Walzer. We started out with, we keep 10% from the door. The rest goes to the main club. Now what we do, we split everything. We keep the raffle and the kitchen. if we need this, actually the expenditure and the income that we make keeps us afloat. We make little money, but if we have major expenditures, like for the Garde girls, new customs and so on, those are major expenditure, there the main club will support us.
Mostly similar with most of you guys?
No, San Diego, the income for Carnival comes exclusively from dues. We get nothing from the door from our events. That goes to the mother club in its entirety. Where we make the real income that we have besides dues is in an Oktoberfest. Generally, each of the organizations within the German American societies will support a number of the activities at Oktoberfest. In addition, we have a booth set up. It's just Carnival, and that's where we get most of our money for the year. It's paying for orders, if we're buying pieces of uniforms for the Prinzengarde. And that, in recent years, is good for about $10,000 a year. And the Oktoberfest is, for both us and in fact the club, that's.
Well, we also have some other fundraisers.
That's
The art sale. Also, we have, there is the option that if, you know, if like we needed new uniforms or something and it looked like it was gonna cost more, we can go before the board and make a request.
Yeah, Carol?
We're set up entirely, excuse me, differently. We don't have a mother club.
Ah.
We're at lock, stock, and barrel.
Lock, stock,
So
and
either
barrel.
we swim or we drown, and it's
Guys,
us.
you wrote me last week that you and your wife were having to run it because you had rented it out and somebody needs to go there to run to do this, the cleanup and the whole
Well,
thing, yeah?
yeah, and that's what the clubhouse where we're at. We're privileged to have a gentleman who's very philanthropic, and he's allowed us to use his facility for meetings and all kinds of stuff like that, and of course we pay him back. But we're set up where we've got our board of directors, and then originally we were told, well, the Elferat, fine. Now, they march in at the beginning of the Prinzenkarneval, and then they march out. And when we come then to Maskenball, they do the same thing. Well, even though I was born in the cold, the winter, no, I was born in the summer, wasn't I? In Minnesota, something was missing there. There's something wrong with that picture. They have the Elferat, which I had heard was the advisors of the club, and their task was merely to be able to walk left, right, in before the Carnival, and then out, and in before the costume ball, possibly, and then out, and maybe not that. So we've changed things, and we've added, and Jack over here was president of the Elferat, and we've charged them with searching for a prince. Get us prince candidates. And then the board decides whether they're going to have it or not. The Elferat is now in charge of doing the Prinzenkarneval program and so on. Now, as far as the selling of the tickets and that, that's basically been done by other people yet. But there was so many gaps in there.
Yeah, but it looks like you, in your club, the Elferat is more involved than in some other ones. because you
Well,
have the
yes
mother
and
club.
no. Yes and no. I mean, you know, in the beginning, yeah, to me, now Jack, you could disagree.
No.
We were do-nothings. And it was like, what in the heck is this?
Yeah.
You know, and then we go to Germany and we talk about, you know, the Senat and, you know, and the Elferat, and it was like, duh, you know, there's something wrong in Denmark. No, it wasn't in Denmark, it was in Minnesota. But I know other clubs, and they're members of our Ganga. Their biggest task at the Elferat is march in, march out. They exist in 2010. And it's like, that's why I asked the expert up here, and you experts, to share with us, because we don't know enough.
Wow. I'll thank you for calling me an expert. I don't feel like I'm the expert. I have some
Are you 100
experience
miles
in
from
it.
home?
Huh?
Are you 100 miles from home?
Yes, I am.
Then you're an expert.
We had a Phoenix Club, we had a similar situation in the old days. We had a budget, we got $2,000-3,000 for uniforms and ordnance and this kind of stuff, and then when the Phoenix Club was founded and it really grew in Southern California, they made money by the, you know, I mean, there's some stories that the president had the money under the mattress and all kinds of things there. So much, but then it started settling down and wasn't coming in as much anymore. We built a clubhouse, the expenses came, we had employees. So all of a sudden that support was trickling down, they were cutting us. And if we go in our history, we had sometimes a blood that consisted of one double sheet, and just the cheapest paper and black and white, because there was no money. So a few years ago, actually now it's what, 10 years? 15 years? Oh, we are already in a new club for a while. That's when we started in the summer. We had some pool parties, and somebody said, the guy from Cologne, let's make some rheinische Pfannkuchen. Right? While we having the party mixer. Everybody likes to eat them, but nobody likes to make them. So we started putting this. I put the first stove together, you know, with some barbecue flames and a plate, and it was quite an experience, because this thing then popped open, the oil sprit, and you couldn't get it going. Now we have a stove that's that thick, and we have some pancake experts here. And this is another thing. Our Elfrat's president group leader does most of that thing in here. He's, you know, this is where there should be more support from the Elfrat. That's why we need to get positions in there. That's why I wanted to see how the rest of us. I know it's not talking about much Elfrat, but I think we as Germans here, German clubs in the United States, we have a little bit of a problem. First of all, it's Nachwuchs. We are lucky. I got my son in here, I got my daughter in here, I got 3 granddaughters in here. The president has 3 kids in there, he has a daughter in there. So, in the old days with the club, the parents went and left the kids at home. So there is in our club, a generation gap. There's one generation missing. We now, my wife, American, was the youth dance group leader for 12 years. His mother, even though she was not German, but she put this together, and us walking up, this is why our kids coming now. We started first just the Prinzenpaar, to introduce them a little bit, then a couple more kids went along, and all of a sudden the whole youth dance group comes along. It was my daughter. So, I was a little more interested to how we all solve our problems. We used to get, so now we turned into making pancakes. German potato pancakes, and it sells pretty well. And we have evolved to have a nice stove now. It has become a routine how we do this. We have a kitchen crew, things like this is our income. We don't get anything on the gate. The club put this on and so on. We used to get all the drinks free, for instance, what we call a warm-up party before we started marching in. At that time, now we have to take care of ourselves. We buy the booze and this kind of stuff from the club. They give us the price plus 50%. We cannot bring anything from the outside because you have to watch the liquor laws here too. So we are doing actually fairly well, and I'm glad to belong to this group. We have our things going. The problem is then between when they turn 16, 18 to old enough to come to the Elfrat or the thing. This is one of the problems. This is when you lose them.
Well, I got a question actually, not just for you, but for all the, I guess, older, more senior Elfrat members. How do we as an Elfrat body who is supposed to preserve tradition of Carnival and, you know, preserve the bylaws and make the rules so that, you know, it's entertaining because we put the program together, right? But how do we do that in a way for now 2nd, 3rd generation Germans, and not just them, but a whole generation that knows nothing about Carnival. How do you make it interesting? Because I'll tell you, if you go in there tonight, the average age of that room is floating somewhere probably around 60, and it's not getting any younger. The younger people are the dance groups, and I mean, it's not to say anything bad, but they're dance groups. They come in, they dance, and they leave. They go to a party, they go to a club in Vegas. They don't stay for the show because to them, the traditionalist part of it's really not that entertaining. You know, and some of us find it interesting, you know, as younger people, but I think as Elfrod, it's our job to find a mix of where we keep tradition, but we also start molding and modifying Carnival to fit in a more American theme so that it becomes interesting to another generation and actually a whole other group of people. Otherwise, we die out.
Well, we found when we have our events that the bulk of the people that come to our events are not members of our club. Minnesota. So we have to entertain them. So we can do little tidbits of information, but we have to remember that they're paying the money we make comes from our events.
Right.
And they're paying for the tickets. So we have to be careful not to bore them. So we have to throw little bits and pieces throughout the evening, just to kind of educate them. And yet keep them coming back to our events because they're paying for us.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So.
How many people do you have per evening event?
A couple hundred.
Couple hundred?
Yeah.
And I know it's nothing really have a lot, but can you tell us a little bit when you say bits and pieces and so on, how do you do your events different?
Our ad book, we have an ad book that we pass out our events that has terms and what is Carnival, and we pass that out to everyone that comes. Also during the evening, our MC will discuss the Princeton Orden and our Club Orden. Depending on getting a feel for the crowd, we'll do a Schunkel and explain it. It's things like that. And we're fortunate in some respects that a lot of the people keep coming back, so we can do a little bit more. But we've also found that if we make it too long, we lose them.
What do you mean with too long?
Our ceremonies, our stage stuff. We've had the opening, we've shortened it down because as we were observing, the only people that were paying attention were the people in the front row. The buzz in the back, you could just hear it pick up.
So how long on average is one program on?
Our awakening is about 5 minutes. We wake an hour. That's about a 5-minute. Our defrocking, we call it, and our Princeton and our Kroning takes about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Our costume ball, which is really a costume ball, that's a very short ceremony. That's really awarding of prizes.
You don't have performances during those events?
We have performances. We have during the band break. We have it is primarily as a dance.
Tanzpaar.
And we have our Tanzpaar will do performances.
So you have 2 or 3?
2 or 3, yeah.
So the main reason people are coming, for the most part, is for the dance.
The dinner and the dance, yes.
Always has been in the United States.
Dinner is basically included?
Yes.
We found in Minnesota that seems to work the best, to put a dinner with it. And when we've got to rent places with the dinner, of course, then the cost of the hall, we can, negotiate better. And what Jack's saying, it's always that fine line. But we make our money from the ad booklet, we make it from the people who come to our events. And we've got up to 87 members now. But you know what? At 87 members, and only from the 87 members, we financially can't handle it. So we encourage the public to come in, get more members, but just come in if you don't want to be a member, because it puts also cash in our pocket.
So may I ask how much a member is entry ticket, including dinner?
30 to 35.
Including dinner?
Including dinner.
35?
Yeah, but you gotta realize too that, I wanna make this clear, the situation with the furnished club is slightly different.
Yeah.
We have a big clubhouse, we have a restaurant, and we have the beer stube. In the smaller clubs, it is the members who cook the meals.
Yeah.
That's why we can make it 35.
No, ours are catered.
Ours are catered.
Okay then.
Ours are catered.
Okay, if you can,
And we don't get the bar.
I mean,
The clubhouse owner gets the bar.
Or whoever gets it, you
The
know.
event owner. And sometimes the meal price is up to $30, so you're making, maybe you're covering the band, because you have to pay for the band.
Don't tell me. I don't know how much you pay, but you pay quite a bit of that.
And the
Anywhere
one-
from 600 to 1200.
And the
for one
biggest
evening.
thing, and the biggest thing missing in Minnesota is Carnival's music. And no one knows Carnival's music. So it's basically this American, German polkas and all that type of stuff. There's no Carnival's music. And if you put too much Carnival in it, people don't get it because they don't know anything about it, because they've never been there, never seen it.
That's the right balance between entertaining and maintaining your German traditions and this kind of stuff. We all have, that's why I was trying to get.
Okay, but, so we're a carnival organization, right? And
Yes.
we've got a lot of, we've got a lot of older members, so we have to cater them. But you say that we're supposed to, when we say we're supposed to uphold German traditions, if you go to a German carnival, a lot of it is pomp and circumstance, but the music and all that, the way they dance, some of the parties they throw, have all been catered now to bring in the younger crowds. I mean, it brings in a middle of the road crowd. So you've got your really young and your really old, but most of it sits between like the 30 and the 60, right? And it's catered to that. So how do you, in America now, because all the people that come to a lot of our carnival events, or at least at my club I find, are people who remember how it was in Germany. So how do you make that how do you make the transition? I mean, really, how do we, because remember, a lot of the Elfrads boards too sit with older generation that came from Germany that are still trying to uphold the traditions that they remember while they were there. So how do we start to make the transition from then to now, so that Carnival still remains Carnival? It doesn't remain, Carnival in the 60s or the 50s or the.
That's exactly the problem. I became an Elfrat in 1982 down here in Anaheim, and we've been struggling. I hear exactly what some of you say. We went through all of this. And as I just mentioned earlier, when I said we want Carnival, we want to make a sitzung. Oh, no, the people want to dance. That's when I said, give me a Sunday afternoon. And as I said before, it's still on a Sunday afternoon, because you can't get enough people in a Saturday night to justify it. Now we even have one of our Elfrat, our DJ here. We make this couple events even without a band to save money and to be able to still be entertaining. Now, so it sounds like we all have very similar problems. It doesn't give me an answer for what he's looking for. We had our first girls that we had at the Phoenix Club, our Prinzengarde. There was a Palastrevolution, so to say, not against the lady. We call them Kampfadergeschwader. The ones who speak German probably understand varicose vein bomber squad. So there was a revolution. We tried to get the new ones in because we had a youth dance group that wanted to get in, but the old ones didn't want to get out, right? So there was quite some fights there too, and to make it entertaining then, Saturday. So we had clubs coming, San Diego, sometimes 2 and 3, then goes up, and then gets the orden. So we brought it down to 5 orden. The president, the Prinzenpaar, and maybe MC, whatever. Only 5 people from the guest club on the stage, because we have a fairly decent stage, but there's just so much room. The elbow on the back, the band. We have had times when we put the band on the side to have more room. But then when they played, the stage was empty. I mean, we had some scenes and stuff like this, but the stage basically was empty after that. So it looks better with the band up there. So over the years, we have really tried to make this income that we need, maintain our traditions, and we tried even 1 or twice with a carnival just for young people, with rock band type thing in here to make. It wasn't really carnival, it was just a carnival dance with modern music. It didn't work. There were not enough people. You have to look at it from a marketing point of view, that in order to have an event, the old ones don't even come. He was always getting too loud, I can't come anywhere. It's the fact. Most people didn't dare. Last night I was sitting up next to the speaker there too. I had to leave. I couldn't take it anymore. So
The question you raised when you're talking about, I mean, I can say in San Diego, this problem of transition of keeping younger people interested in coming to our events, but not having the older members threaten to quit the club because the music will play in between is just enough to have you pull your hair out.
Right, it is.
Well, another thing wouldn't go down.
Okay, can people, everybody want to raise? So can we go by the raise your hand? I'm trying to keep track of it. You've been trying for a while to speak.
Well, the other thing is and stuff, I mean, I can see what you're going through there, and it gets frustrating, but, you know, I'll tell you, these women clubs and stuff, I mean, we gotta be willing to change. And we gotta be willing to listen to new people with new ideas, and some of the older people that, you know, are fighting some of this stuff, hey, what good is a carnival if you got nobody to attend it? They're gonna start fighting this and go off and they quit and get rid of it.
Olga?
I think something very important was that we basically have to understand that Carnival, we have to entertain people. Yeah? Now, what is entertainment? Some people come to Carnival because they want to dance and maybe have some fun with it. Other people come to Carnival because they can show off. Other people come to Carnival and just want to see the performances, and that's important to them. And that is in varying with age groups and can mean gender and so on. I think it would be good maybe next year if you have another discussion like this, and just share some ideas how do different clubs entertain their people, what works, what doesn't work, how were the success stories, how you got suddenly a young crowd, and how did you manage to do that? How did you avoid pissing off all the older people and still have the younger people stay till 12 o'clock? Things like that. I think sharing those ideas, not only that there is interest, but I think there's also a need for that.
I really hadn't planned of going this direction, but from the questions I had was very important. We need to come to a conclusion. He was first and then it's you. Go ahead.
What we found, and I think the Phoenix Club has the same situation, is the band will play more lively stuff later on, because by then the older people have left. They tend to leave pretty early now. And that seems to keep the younger people, at least, you know, they get a little bit of the band seem to be able to play some rock and roll stuff, and that helps.
Here we do a lot in the breaks too, the band break. There's 15 minutes there. This is where most of us do the other entertainment.
The music style changes.
Sorry, you had a...
The difficult part for entertainment is the band itself.
Oh yeah.
If you have a good band that plays all the things you want, but there comes a point, even that good band is not good anymore because people like to hear something else. So we have, fortunately in our area, we have very good bands that play German music, some play even Karneval's music, and they have a good variety to entertain the people. The usual entertainment is especially on the opening ball, that we have the dance groups. If we have guest groups, we had them one year from Canada, and believe me, they're Canadian. They really have good dance groups. We have a dance group too, but our problem is they're getting good, they go to school, so we have to start from scratch. You know, and getting the people interested. For example, Germania Society is about 650 people. Karnevalsgesellschaft, we are 45 people. We go to meetings. Dan speaks at when Carnival comes up, and we invite new members to come. The problem is, if you come to a small club, most likely work is involved.
Right? Yeah.
And
Even in a big club.
then this has to, I say, a small club, a smaller section. I see that also with the other section, with the Schützenverein, I have to be the president on that too. And getting people to participate. It's difficult to establish a discipline. Everybody wants to be a member, but at their own terms. And the problem is, if you want to be a good Karnevalsgesellschaft or whatever other club, there has to be a certain discipline, and that is the most difficult part for the president to do, because we are, during the meeting, we are just in the background, unless something comes up where the Elvera has to decide. He runs the Karnevalsgesellschaft. We just make the rules, the Elvera. But his problem is getting people to participate. Volunteering is always, you haven't done it for long, you...
Yeah, and they bring in new members.
Please.
Yeah.
Gentlemen?
One of the things that we've done is we've invited Germans, the high school German classes twice a year out to the club.
Right,
And
and the
there's
colleges
success
around,
with that.
and here German classes, we do this too. We even have gone so far, there was one year where we couldn't hardly get anybody for the Prinzengarde. We invited the Villa Park High School dance team to do a little singing there. That's how close had gotten with us, having a dance garde there. You know, so we tried to bring the Americans in, and we could go on, people with more of that stuff.
We also have, you know, the folk dance group, the Chicago group, and besides the EdCog, and when the high school kids come in, they get up and dance, and we also make sure that they get up and dance, because we go ask them and get them up, and they really enjoy it, and their folks enjoy it, and that's important, because you got to get their parents interested too to come back.
That's not a problem. So we need to, one more.
I'm just saying to Holger's point about entertainment, what we have in our group is the Prinzengarde, and starting with the Maskenball, we have a Männer ballet. And people really enjoy that when we dress and drag, and the three of us are here. We used to have about 15 or 16 guys doing it, now we're about 6 or 7. But the girls dance normally twice. They'll have a garden dance, and then they'll have a show dance. So if at the Maskenball then we have 3 entertainments: garden dance, show dance, and Männer ballet.
Yeah.
And to work in for the breaks of the band.
The problem with this, what it is, we have 2 sets of alte Kameraden uniforms. The old one was tailored, the second one was bought, with the helmets and all kinds of things. I've been on the stage in diapers. I've been on stage in just the singing here with the armbands, doing this thing. The problem is what you do after 45 years. You bought this, let's bring the other Kameraden again. We have some problems. This is entertainment. It's very popular also in Germany. But people, we need to, I get the sign back there, we haven't reached an hour. I think what Holger says, doing this and exchanging ideas, how we can survive, how we zone. I apologize not talking too much about Elferrat, because there's really not all that much, okay? It was more the position of it. Do go on the site, Wikipedia, or look Elferrat, or go to Germany.de, look over there what it says, Elferrat, the traditions, what is an Elferrat, and so on and so forth. You can look this up. I was interested here how we do it, what is the Elferrat in the United States here, what is expected, what can we do. It looks like we all have the same problem. We all have a lot of guys coming up there showing a uniform. When it's picture day, everybody's there. When we may have a performance, everybody has there. And we have, we have our servers that come up there, and another pros while they're drinking. We go through several cups and so on. But this is not the function of the Elferrat. We should all participate to make this in the Carnivals groupies. Years ago, we had a prince that became then the group leader, and I had a couple of people coming. Well, he's a party man. We just do party, there's no carnival, man. But if you don't come back, we're gonna leave. I had retired 12, 40 years ago or so on. I didn't, you know, I said we get the newer ones. Now I have a good man here. Holger had some experience in Germany, from what I understand, and I hope we all need to work together. But his workshops in the future should be maybe also one of those problems that we encounter and how we can overcome. So we all have enough experience.
My question is, what is GAMGA doing to promote communication between the clubs?
Oh, that's a very sour point. Well, since I'm probably the one in charge of communication from GAMGA, I'm sending almost, just before GAMGA events, I'm sending out every week emails. And the email addresses are all open to anyone that receives them. The feedback is very marginal. So I want you to understand that GAMGA, yes, it is an organization of all the clubs in America, but it's basically 5 volunteers. What GAMGA should be is a communication platform for the clubs. But you basically should give us some ideas or requests what and how you want to do things. And then we will help with
It's
that.
still, even GAMGA is a volunteer organization. All we are volunteers. And I usually joke when I was traveling on business and so on, and then, my job gets in the way of my Elferat's job and so on. It's a joke, but it is for many. When that man has a high position and he has to do business to make a living, you know. And so the communication is all of us. We cannot just depend on one to give us what to do it. We need to work together. So this is the thing, it's a volunteer organization. If it was a paid position, I would expect a lot more. But on the other hand, as long as we are all volunteers, we all got to put our share in.
Let's say it this way, we have a web page. Yeah. We have, and if you type in GAMGA in Google, the first thing that comes up is our web page. So that is already something. Of course, you have to know what GAMGA is and what you're looking for. We have email communications, but beyond that, how to promote Carnival in America. Yeah? I think for that, we all should sit down and think about what do we mean with Carnival? How do we explain Carnival to American young people? What do we want them to expect from Carnival? Once we have that clarified between us, and I'm pretty sure at the moment that is not really clear, I think then we could do some steps and
But I have a problem with this. I have a problem with what you're saying with Carnival. I want to do Fastnacht. I want to do Fasching.
See,
there's another thing that I want to bring up there.
I want Brazilian Carnival, at least the women.
How many different types of German potato salad exist here in the United States? Do we have a problem? Okay, so
where's the Ferris wheel?
Okay, one more, but you have to go.
I just wanted to say, what we did when we made our rules and regulations, we put in, we celebrate Carnival, Rheinischen Carnival.
Okay.
And we, when we set everything up, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do the Fasching? Why don't we do the Altweiberfastnacht or the Germanische, Altgermanische Fastnacht and so on? No, our group will be Rheinischer Karneval, and we left it with this. Everybody agreed, we made the rules, and we lived by it. The best, as far as I can see, where a lot of clubs come together is a German Fest Milwaukee. It's out of the Carnival session, but you still have so many clubs coming together. perform. And this should be actually used to communicate, not only between the clubs, but also to the public.
Yeah, and for the Carnival section, what we have there, this is why you know how the GAMGA Gala, we used to visit each other. And I said, well, we had a meeting once a year, and I said, okay, here's the big board. On this date, there we are here. No, we want to go to them, we want to go to them. So that's when we started out and we say, we make GAMGA, we get together, and we have somebody saying where this is, and out of this little meeting every year became GAMGA, to visit, to get the traditions and things like this. And with the Milwaukee German Fest, maybe we become the German GAMGA whatever. I'm thinking here to help each other and to learn from each other. So it's...
We got one question. What is exactly the difference between Carnival and Fasching?
The area where it's celebrated. That's why he said the Rheinischer Karneval. At the Phoenix Club I had tried over the years, there was, depending on who was Elferrat's president, they pushed Alaf, I pushed Hilau, but then when I was on there, I put Ahoy on the back, as they said last night, in my area they say Ahoy.
That's right.
They say other thing, Solingen Lot Young. There's so many, depends what area the Carnival is. That's why I'm saying, this Carnival, when he started this Carnival, I said, wait a minute, I want to, as a joke, ich will Fastnacht machen, Fasching. So they very clearly have a direction, Rheinischer Karneval. There's another couple of groups in here, this Rheinischer Karneval. I've tried in the Phoenix Club over the years, have the German Karneval, and this is why we say Aloha, Helaf, Aloha, Ahoy, whatever. So we made a combination, that's how we evolved to the thing to satisfy everybody. Well, if you don't say Alaf, I'm not going to come. So, you know, I mean, there are people like this, we all need to open up a little bit to get the common cause. I thank you for coming. I'm surprised how many came, expected one or two.
Okay, welcome to a workshop at Ganga here, and we're very privileged again to have an expert lady telling us about things. Lots of experience, lots of talent, and Virginia, let it go right now. Virginia Tunnel from San Diego. Thank you.
I want to say it's actually my honor and my privilege to be doing this, that I've been asked 2 years in a row to do this. You have no idea how much that means.
We can try to.
It really does. What we're going to talk about a lot today is different aspects of choreography in regards to I'm going to be talking about solos,
no, I'm editing it right now. I'm not going to be
small groups, and
I'm
just trying to get the
want
larger
it on the screen actually, right?
touch a little bit on
the screens are not
skits.
touching.
Okay, so as I'm going along, I'm hoping also at the end to be able to do a little bit of question and answer. But if you do have a question when I'm saying something, you know, who knows where this is going to lead. Let's just kind of go with it as it goes. Okay? So what I am going to start with is the most difficult choreography you will do, and that is for a soloist. The reason it makes sense that it would be the most difficult because that's the most difficult dancing that anyone has to do. There's no place to hide when you are a soloist. That floor is yours, and every eye in this room. If you look around these tables, look how many chairs are out here. All these eyes are on that soloist. If you're the choreographer for that soloist, all those eyes are on you as well. Okay? I suggest, I feel very strongly about this, that for a Funkenmariechen or a soloist, they should be able to do a large majority of their own choreography. They can get help, but they should be able to do most of it on their own. Because the dancer has to feel comfortable in the movement that they do. And when somebody choreographs for a soloist like that, they don't necessarily feel comfortable in the movement, and it can tend to look a little robotic. I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to ask you guys, well, let's start with this. First of all, again, the Funkenmariechen should be the best dancer that your club has on. You really should be the best. And there's a reason. I believe that the Funkenmariechen position was created because of that you had a line of girls, and one just kind of always stuck out. And it was just like, well, God, she sticks out, but we don't want to tell her not to do what she's doing because she's so good. So let's go ahead and pull her out of the line and let her do a solo on her own. Because if you think about the Funkenmariechen in the court, it doesn't quite seem to fit. What would the Funkenmariechen be in a regular court? There's really no position, so she is. That's kind of my philosophy or theory of where she came from. So she really needs to be the best dancer that you have to put out on the floor. So now I'm going to ask you guys a question. What do you want to see your Funkenmariechen do? What do you expect from her? Anybody have any ideas?
The same thing you do.
Thank you. What, Christy?
Engage the audience.
Engage the audience. Let's say, now, I'm talking about movement. What kind of movement do you want to see?
From response, especially the large audience here at Ganga, the biggest response you always got was when you did your tumble, your floor. Whether it be splits, whether it be cartwheels, combinations, or anything like that.
He's got two of them.
Tap dancing?
Tap dancing's cool.
High kicks.
You got them. There are all three of them. There are all
We
three of
love
them.
high kicks.
Splits, cartwheels, high kicks. Those are all three things that are expected of a Funkenmariechen. And I'm going to say this way. A Funkenmariechen must do this. There are enough musts there. Be able to do a full and complete split, a very good cartwheel, and very high kicks. If you have a club, and in your club, you don't have someone who can do that, does that mean you don't have a Funkenmariechen? No, it doesn't. But it means you want to keep your Funkenmariechen for what I call internal consumption only. Meaning, you want to keep her in the club, go into your own, into the visiting clubs that you do, but do me a favor and do her a favor, don't post her dancing on YouTube. Because YouTube can be pretty mean. You can see some pretty mean responses from people when they're watching performances and they say, oh God, she can't even do a decent split. This is no Funkenmariechen. I've read those comments on YouTube. I think it's very painful and hurtful to the performer. And I'm very protective of performers because we can all get messed up out there. And I just don't want to see performers getting hurt that way. So if you have a Funkenmariechen that doesn't quite have all these things, but you're happy with her, use her. Okay? Have her out there. But try to keep her from getting into things in YouTube. When trying to keep my mind on certain things, I kind of go all over the place. When you're dealing with picking a Funkenmariechen, I've always described the Funkenmariechen in three kind of people. You've got a cheerleader, you've got a rockette, and you've got a saloon girl. All three of these personalities should be in equal parts within the Funkenmariechen. The cheerleader is pretty obvious. She has to be high energy. She has to be very peppy and happy, and she has to be able to go out and really move through the dance. Your rockette is your technician. She's got to be a good dancer. That's where the dancers, the high kicks come from. She's got to have that ability to. And when I would tell anybody who would come up to me and say, I'd like to be a Funkenmariechen, I would ask, have you gone to take the dance classes? If you haven't taken dance classes, get into dance. You shouldn't be putting just somebody out there who's never danced. Okay? Don't do that. And the last part of this is the Saloon Girl. Gotta remember, this is Carnival, right? This is a little on the risque side, right? She's also gotta be a little naughty. Okay? She's gotta be a little, just a little hint. Exactly. The naughty girl is the one who engages the audience. That is where your stage presence comes from. That is the one when you come out, and I mean, she's on the floor, she has very short time on the floor to truly engage her audience. Very short time. I mean, you really can quickly lose you know. But that little naughty girl, the one who can wink at a guy and flip her skirt up at a guy and look at her shoulder and blow a kiss, that's the saloon girl. That is your stage presence. That is the chemistry that happens between the audience. She's the one who's attainable. Cheerleader isn't necessarily attainable. Rockette definitely is not attainable. But the saloon girl is attainable to everybody in the audience. She's the one who reaches out, touches the audience, and grabs them in. So when you're sitting down and you're looking at your club and you're saying, okay, we're going to have tryouts for Funkenmariechen, kind of set those things out. Look for those 3 people within the girl. Try to find the one that kind of gets the most mix of all of them. You have to have a good stage presence, there's no doubt. If you're going to do a audition for a show, and I've seen this a lot of times, that you're going to say, how am I going to pick this person I'm going to put in this show? You got this one girl, God, she's a great dancer, but she got no personality, right? And then you have this other girl on the other side, and you say, well, she's got all the personality in the world, but she's not the best dancer. Which one can you work with the best? You take the one that you can feel, okay, she can learn a little bit better dance. She can get there. This one, maybe we can work on her personality, bringing it out on the floor. She may be a cute person, but doesn't come out on the floor. So that you need that the good mix of all of those people to get a good. And I think that's a really important part to start, is that you start with a good person to go on that floor. No place to hide. She's got to be able to think on her feet. There have been, I don't know how many times that something has happened to me on that floor, and I've had to change my routine. I think somebody remembers here, my Spielmanns and friends, remember one of the first times I was out here, my music stopped. And it stopped twice. And it stopped 3 times. My music stopped 3 times. I started the dance 3 times. The last time I said, forget it. And I danced through without music, and the whole audience was clapping. And I used the clapping of the audience to finish my dance. This you have to be able to do. You have to be able to work through disaster. So you need to make sure that that girl is capable of doing that as well. Any questions so far as to what I've given you? Any?
My question is, who picks the Funkenmariechen?
That depends upon your club. Okay. Within our club, the San Diego club, it is the entire membership of the Carnival of Gesellschaft. In some groups, it is done by the board. Other groups will do it by the Prinzengarde will do the vote. I kind of like the idea of the entire body because it takes it out of the personal relationship area. And like I said, remember the first thing was what? She has to be the best dancer you have. She is your front person. She's the first person that everybody sees in your club. And she sets the tone of what your performance is. She sets the tone for the Tanzpaar. She sets the tone for the Prinzengarde. If your Funkenmariechen does not have that strength to be able to go, it's a lot of strength to have to carry. It all goes downhill. So it is up to your club how you do it. But I think the more people involved in the voting process, the less political it becomes, and the more you're going to get people saying, this is the best dancer we have. This is the one we want to step forward. Anybody else have anything to say? Okay. So now let's talk about how we just said we need splits, we need cartwheels, and we need high kicks. So already we've got some choreography done, haven't we? We know it absolutely is routine. We know it absolutely. So now what you want to do is deal with how long the routine is. That again depends on the strength of your dancer. This is a really important part. If you have a less strong or capable Funkenmariechen, shorten the time. 2 minutes. She needs to be able to carry off the entire time she's on that floor without going through repetitive motion. If she's repeating things, that means she doesn't have any place else to go. So you shorten the time. You can use going in and coming off the floor in that 2-minute time. If she's a little bit better, maybe you want to give her different music to get on, maybe you give her a little bit different music to get off. But the less capable, the shorter. Even a very good, very experienced and talented Funkenmariechen, I wouldn't go more than 4 minutes. Because we don't want to lose the audience. We always want them to go, God, I wish you would have stayed out there a little bit longer. If they're going, okay, what's next? You've lost them, and you lost everything that you set up. She might have been doing a great job out there, but you lost it. You threw it away because you went too long. Leave a morning walk, have them wanting to go, can you go and do that again? Let me see you do that again. So you have given you there. You can go between 2 minutes to 4 minutes. If it goes a little over 4 minutes, as long as you can carry it off, sit and watch her routine and do it with a critical eye. Are you getting it? If she's losing your interest, she's going to lose your audience interest. Someone needs to do that. And she needs to be able to do that too. Be critical with herself and say, going a little wrong. With this computer age today, my husband has gotten wonderful at this. He can edit any piece. We have pulled pieces out of, parts right out of the middle of a piece of music where all of a sudden it gets really slow and it's like, oh, we don't want that in there. He'll just suck that right out, blend them together, and we go on. We do the same thing with editing the beginning or the end of the piece. Find where you find where it seems like, okay, right there is a good end, and then you can find someone in your club who's good with the computers, who can do the editing and edit it down so you get to that for 2 to 4 minutes. He's taken from me, I've taken and had him loop things where I said, oh, I don't want this part of the music. I want it to start back right about here, and so he'll take this whole section, throw it back on the end, and there it loops, and so I can get the length of time that I want. Music does not have to stop, remember that. When your Funkenmariechen comes to her, ta-da, she's doing solidity, she's doing bowing, and all of this can be done with the music. You can let the music run. She marches up. Doesn't have to stop. You can use that music to get her off. So now we've already got quite a bit going, right? Splits. A lot of Funkenmariechen end in splits. I think most of them do. They're either going to end up in a split, they're going to end up on a knee. Very rarely do they just end like this, right? So there you kind of get in your ending already. She doesn't have to stop there. She can finish her splits, turn around, come up, a bunch of different things. But it kind of is where they turn to. That's the big moves. That's split, and everybody wants to see it. So that gives you a little bit more in regards to helping you choreograph. Kind of steps she does. Anything and everything. I don't care if she's out here doing Roger Rabbit, okay? If she's doing moonwalk, if she's doing polka, if she's doing any type of folk dancing, if she's doing jazz, if she even does a little hip hop, if it fits, do it, if it fits her personality. Because remember, if she does hip hop, that's the Saloon Girl. That's very engaging. It may not be the kind of movement that you think traditionally for Funkenmariechen, but traditionally the Funkenmariechen has to have more freedom. So all of those things are very, very important. I do like YouTube because YouTube does show us things that are happening. Go into YouTube and put in Funkenmariechen, put in Prinzengarde, and they will bring up all sorts of sites, and you can see what they're doing in Europe. If you want to pull some of that type of stuff in, giving you a heads up, I do that, and I see that they're almost doing what we used to do in aerobic class. Yes. Their routines are extraordinarily aerobic. It's just a lot of jumping apart and a lot of. They don't march anywhere. I've never seen them march anywhere. They are kicking and moving. They're doing lots of jazz. They do our music. They don't do German music, they're doing American music. Of course, for us here, we look at it and go, oh, you know what, we can hear American music anytime. I'd like to hear some German music. And what's nice is there are now groups in Germany that are taking some old music and making new music that is much more current to our time and makes it very, very nice to be into music. I had it pointed out to me on the way here on the bus, by a very close friend, that you might want to listen to a little bit of what the words are saying, because sometimes those words are saying a little bit something that, if your children can understand. If you're going to have that be, we were listening to one song that was talking about, what was it?
Last night,
20 centimeters. 20 centimeter, yeah. Okay, but it's carnival. This is carnival. It's supposed to be. That's why that just is there. So, but you might want to just think about it. I worked with a group of kids, and we did a dance to Wild Wild West. And one of the words in one sentence was gimme, gimme, say sex. Yes, I was doing this with 5-year-old kids. I'm going, no. And it was my boss at the time, because I was working for a different studio, and she's the one who picked this music. And I said, no. So I went and edited it out. The rest of the song was okay, but you do want to hear that, especially if you're doing with Kinder Carnival. There's some cute music out there, but do you want to do 20 Zentimeter with Kinder Carnival? No. So really, if you don't speak German and you don't know, take the music to somebody else, have somebody else listen to it, who does know how, listen to what those words are, make sure you know, and it is appropriate for the person who is performing. Because one of the things we are doing here is we're also talking about for kinder, right? Because this is not just for the adult Prinzengarde, adult Funkenmariechen. This is also for kinder. That's where we get that adult Funkenmariechen eventually is from that child who does. So, and their movement may be a little bit different. I mean, they still have to have all those little parts. They don't want to be as naughty. They might want to be a little mischievous than naughty, but she has to have those parts as well. So, all that kind of movement is available to us. Any type of dance movement, and it may not even be dance movement, but maybe it's a little bit of play acting. You know? I go up to people, I take a guy's glasses off, and rub it on my buns. Okay, that's not dancing, but it's a little play acting and connecting with the audience, right? So that's all acceptable.
It's just that fun thing. It's just that little hint you give a teasing. It's not anything else.
It is not. It's not rock.
And if you show your little panty, which you have a very cute panty on with little ruffles and all that.
Are you ready?
Yeah, we're good.
That is just
Monica is making a very, very good point, and I was going to talk about this too as part of the places that I even believe you can get movement, and this goes into the Saloon Girl, is strippers. Believe it or not, okay? Couple terms. There's one that's called a bump and a grind. Okay? A bump and a grind, there's your grind, there's the bump. That's a stripper. Prinzengarde or Funkenmariechen can do it this way and that. It's still the same thing. It looks very different. I would not do the stripper's version, that not. But bump and grind is part of dance. Another one is called a shimmy. There's your stripper. There's a Funkenmariechen. So don't say, can't do that movement because it's unacceptable. No, it's not unacceptable. It may be just the way that it's being performed, and if you think something is going too far, then make sure you tell them, yes. I also believe one of the things I'm very strong on is that the Funkenmariechen's uniform needs to be acceptable for what she's doing. When a Funkenmariechen does a cartwheel, she should never show skin. Underneath her skirt, you should never see skin. That's going too far. Should have, if she's wearing the separate pieces, beautiful leotard. So when she flips over, there is no skin. You don't see back here anything. You don't see here anything. There's no chance to see anything. That's all part of it. That's what Monica is hinting at. It is that goes one step too far when you're showing that. It is touching and teasing and hinting at it without actually the performance thereof. Okay. Let me see here. Anybody have any questions or any other thing that they want to say about in regards to Funkenmariechen at this point? Because I think we're just about covered what I want to cover with Funkenmariechen. I'm hoping I'm giving you a basis on where to start, where you can look for movement, the kind of music you want to use. You want to use anything that is energetic and peppy. Make sure it is within her ability, that she can carry off the time frame that she's out there. She cannot get tired on it. She cannot show that she's tired. She has to be able to carry off that entire time frame. So if she's out there for 2 minutes, she needs to be able to be at the end of that 2 minutes with the same energy level that she started at. If she's there for 4 minutes, she better be able to hold that. That's a lot of time, folks. A gymnastics routine is 2 minutes long. And look at the kind of energy that those girls put into the tumbling routine. 2 minutes is what is max. So she needs to carry it. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next most difficult choreography and the next most difficult performance. And that is duos, Tanzpaar. And I want to make a very strong distinction here in between a duo and Tanzpaar. A duo can be 2 men, it can be 2 women, and it can be a man and woman. Tanzpaar, it's always got to be a man and woman, right? The other part of it is this to think about, is that a duo, if one of the members of a duo is sick and cannot perform, for whatever reason cannot perform, the other member can still pretty much go out and do their routine. They're doing the same thing at the same time. Sometimes they may be doing a few different things. Maybe you stand for a moment while the other person performs and you perform. They may need to make a few adjustments in that performance, but they can go on by themselves. A Tanzpaar cannot. The Tanzpaar is a unit. You can't dance without your other half. So you need to remember that as when you're doing your choreography for a Tanzpaar, they have to be a unit. They are a team. Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers. Okay? You can have moments within the performance where you're dancing separate, but you need to remember you have that unit. You also don't have much place to hide because there's only 2 of you out here, but you do have a little bit of room now to wiggle because maybe one person's a little bit better at this and the other one's a little weaker, so we can hide the little weaker one behind what the other one can do. You get that opportunity. There's a little more anonymity on the floor because of the fact that there are 2 of you out there. And that is a good place to start, by the way. When you're starting with your Tanzpaar, yes, the first thing you got to be critical. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Really important place to start. You have 2 people out there. Can you both do high kicks? Oh God, if not both can do high kicks, well, we can do a lot of kicking. Do we have somebody who maybe not be able to kick that high? Okay, so that when we're together, we're not going to kick so high, but we want to make sure that, oh wow, she can kick really high. So we're going to let her kick, and he's not going to kick at this point. We're going to make sure she's kicking, and he's not. So we get those high kicks out there too, right? You want to use them. Guy might be able to tumble. She can't tumble. Let him tumble. She can do something else, right? That's okay. You can dance apart from each other and should use those things to do that. But not only do you have to now have, as a Tanzpaar, you have to have your stage presence and be able to dance. And you have to have attachment to the audience. There has to be something else. It's called chemistry between the 2 partners. That chemistry is really important. That's what makes the difference between you being a duo and being a par. Everyone wants to see you as a par. That means you have to like each other. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers were not the best of friends. They danced in a lot of movies together and everybody loved them to dance. But they weren't the best of friends. But when they got on the dance floor, you would never have guessed it. You would have thought for sure they were in love. Because that's where it's important. That chemistry has to develop on the dance floor. And the only place where that chemistry develops is in hold. That when you are here holding each other, you're looking at each other, you're smiling at each other, that there is an honest give between the 2 of you. That everybody, when they're watching you dance, they go, oh God, those 2 really like each other. So that's another addition into being the dancer. Is you have to now have this chemistry with the person that you are dancing with. Also want to remember, we do a lot of this now, where we are recording things. Well, when you're recording things, you want to think about how far apart you get from your partner. It's really important. You really don't want to have one person over here and the other person over there, because that's kind of like, what is it, the magnet, right? When they draw together, right? Now if you turn and they go, right? Well, you can't develop chemistry if you're dancing away from each other. You shouldn't be too far away. You can dance away from each other, but you should be pretty much close enough that you can reach out and maybe we take a step and be within each other. Tanzpaar is dancing at home. It is dancing in home. Polka. Quick step. Charleston. These are the steps you want to swing. These are the steps you want to be using to do a Tanzpaar. those are all the things that, and what's neat is because since this is called Tanzpaar, it doesn't have a name like tango, which has particular steps that have to be done to it. It's Tanzpaar. You can steal from all and do. Steal from everywhere you can. These are high energy dances, and they give you that opportunity to make your dance look interesting. You're here doing a swing, and then all of a sudden, now you're doing a bit of Charleston, right? It makes it interesting, and you can do Charleston this way. You don't have to be standing next to each other. You can do that. Those all work. But this is what makes this dance really work. Now, I asked you what we wanted to see in the Funkenmariechen. What do we want to see in the Tanzpaar? Anybody have any ideas?
Try to kick at the same height.
Exactly.
Good one.
Be at the same timing.
Imaging.
Yes.
Mirror image.
Sure. Very
Mirror
important.
image, yeah.
How about
Lifting
lifts?
is very important. Don't lift if you cannot do it.
Thank you. Here's where we were going. That's where I was going. I was going to say it slightly differently. I was going to say, do not do what you cannot do well.
Exactly. Just this.
Okay? There are, lifts are, I'm sorry, the bread and butter of being a Tanzpaar. We have to have lifts. In a perfect world, you have a nice, strong male dancer and a teeny weeny tiny whiny little girl who you can just pick up with one hand, and now there she is.
Like a feather.
That we don't live in a perfect world, right? You don't live in a perfect world. So we don't have, you may have dancers that are about the same size, maybe the female's a little bit heavier, maybe the guy isn't quite as strong, whatever it is. So, I mean, being able to muscle that girl up and set her up on your shoulder and go, ta-da, that may not happen, and that's okay. But there are lots of lifts that can be done that do not require the man to be Herculean. You want to use momentum. When you're dancing in holes, momentum develops as you're spinning. And as you're spinning and that momentum is there, that's the easiest time to lift anybody. All she has to do is jump up. She's already going. And then all you're doing is using the momentum, and there she goes flying, right? That's what you want to do. There are lifts that not even using the momentum, but simply, all you have to do is stand up. Grab her around the waist, and you're standing up, and boy, there she is. She's on your hip, right? It doesn't require a lot of waist if you stand her up on your hip. She's shorter than you. Now the weight is on your leg, not on your arm. These are the things you want to use. You want to think about that. As a gymnast, we have guys spotting us all the time. And when you're starting to learn a move, I've taken kids, and I'll take a guy, say, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do a handstand. I'm going to tell them, okay, you like this, all right? And I take them around the waist, and I flip them right over. I'm a little person, but I can still take a person, and knowing how to lift a person, get them up on my shoulder, even a person who's bigger than me. Timing. Knowing how and timing. So lifting needs to be practiced. When you're going to lift somebody, you need to make sure that you're getting down, so you're using your legs, and your timing, so that when that person is jumping, that you are starting your lift when that person is jumping, using their momentum to help with the lift. You cannot lift someone here. You're just losing your arms. You want to get underneath them and bring them up. A couple of years back, my daughter and son-in-law actually did a Tanzpaar. And I couldn't get my son-in-law to get that timing. He would try to lift her from here. I would lift my daughter, and I'd get her up here. He would lift her, she'd be here. Okay, because that's how important it is. Do it in a pool. You guys could want to practice on lifts, get into a swimming pool so that you can feel the timing on it. Practice it over and over and over again to get the timing on a lift. It's extremely important. Do lifts. Look around, there are lots of lifts. I mean, put your leg out, she can sit on your leg. Just put both knees on your leg. She's lifted. Now if you want to get her down, you're going to just kind of lift her. There's a little lift. It doesn't take much, but it works. You lose more by doing a lift you can't do well. You lose more because all you're doing is just showing everybody, we can't do this. So make sure that you are doing that, using good lifts. Finishing, lots of ways to finish. Kissing is allowed. That's a perk for the guys, huh?
Yeah.
It's a big perk for the
Nice way to
guys.
finish.
You get to kiss the girl. Big perk. Those are nice because those are the chemistry. That is the chemistry. Lots of other ways to end. You can end with her over your knee, you know. But you can end up with her on the ground next to him. You can end up with her if she's light, up on the shoulder. These are lots of good ta-das. You want to have a ta-da. You also want to do something that makes you stand out from every other one possible. Lifting is important, but maybe there's something else you guys can do that makes you look different from any other. And this goes for the Funkenmariechen as well. Things that make you unique to what you're doing. Don't try to be just like everybody else. Be different. Take a risk. Maybe it might pay off, maybe it won't. Maybe one year you come up with a dance and you go back and you say, no, take a risk. Make yourself unique to everybody else. Anybody have any questions so far on the Tanzpaar? It's a lot of fun. I love seeing Tanzpaars. That's the one we all want to be. We all want to be up there and going, God, isn't that neat? The way they dance together. Yeah.
I would say also with the Tanzpaar, that musical selection as far as the medley, as far as different styles
Yes,
of
you're
dance
exactly right.
in a piece.
This, by the way, is my husband.
It's just rubbed off.
He's watched so many of these programs that he does realize, and yes, he's right. Even with the Funkenmariechen medley, in Tanzpaar, what's neat with having a medley is you have different tempos. So now you can go into different dance steps. Exactly. You can do a waltz. There's no reason why for a few moments that you can't, or tango. Look, talk about it. One of the most dramatic dances there is the tango. Right? And you get that, talk about where you get the chemistry. When your faces are close together and you are just very dramatic. So yes, believe me, having a medley is an awesome, awesome way to make your dance unique. Very unique. And definitely you want to think how you're getting on the floor. How do you get on the floor? Do you want to just the two of you march out? Do you want to have one person on the floor? That's always a good one. You can have the girl on the floor by herself. Or the guy on the floor by himself, doing something first, and the other one comes out. You do always want them to end together, and you want them going together, not separate. Because remember, they're a par. You want them as a par. You cover the floor as a unit, and you want to remain that way. Once you're together, we want the guy to end up with the girl. You can have a story, boy meets girl. You can have a fight. What do you mean flipping up my skirt? You know? But you want them to end up together. Go at the guy away. Okay? So I think I'm hoping I'm helping you out with that because I'd like to see more Tanzpaars. I really do. I think they're very, very fun to watch. Okay, so next, let's go on to small groups. Now we've added some more people on. We're getting a little more anonymity, so it's a little bit more to hide. Small groups, you're talking about 3 girls in a garter, 4 girls in a garter, 5 girls in a garter. And you're thinking, well, gosh, we have information. Really hard to do a circle with 2 people or 3 people, right? So you're not going to be able to rely on formations. But when God closes a window, he opens a door. There are other things that you can do. Because of the fact that there's a little more anonymity, but still a little bit of a contact available for each of these girls, you can still engage the audience in a way that a big group can't. A big group, there is a whole lot of anonymity there. You're not connecting with really any one person on that. But with a small group, you can. So you can take your people and break them up and bring each one individually toward the forefront, giving them each the ability, what can you do? Oh, you can turn well, so I'm going to let you do turns. God, you're a kicker, so we're going to put you up front when it comes time to do some kicks. And here's a tumbler. We're going to let her tumble. So you're still doing kind of the same things. You're still using everybody in there, but you can use their talents to a way that you can't when you get to a bigger group. You know, not everybody can do a cartwheel in a big group. and doing cartwheels in a big group might be a little dangerous because you kick each other, but you can do cartwheels with a small group. You can do, if they, and their ability. There's no doubt, but we always have to start off because of the ability of the dancer. And that's the reason why not everybody has to do all the same things all the time. So remember that. You can break it up. I have always liked within the group to give everybody, even with our bigger groups, give them all a moment where you're center stage. I would like to see every single dancer get that opportunity to be forward, almost like the Mickey Mouse Club. Virginia, I'm Christy, hi. You know, give them all that moment where they get to, they all work very, very hard, and we want to give them all that little moment. It's very hard to do with the big group, a lot easier to do with the smaller group, so that's something to be aware of. They can do a lot of things. They can still do pinwheels. They can still do some of the, they've got the kicks, they can do kick lines. When they do pinwheels and some of the formations, spread out. Do not be a little group. If you're doing a pinwheel and you've got 3 girls, don't go shoulder to shoulder, right? They're going to be farther apart. Yes. Pinwheel is that big line, and they march in their turn. All the way around like that. That's a pinwheel. That is actually one of the staples of a garter, is the pinwheel. And you'll see it done in a number of ways. They'll break them into 4 points. And they'll do the straight ones. You can do them, everybody facing the same direction. You can have them, half the people facing another direction. Bigger when you get bigger. But they are a staple, is to turn around to march turning. With a small group, boy, they can do kicks. They could do kicks and they could do turns. They can do a lot more. With the big group, it's hard to do some of those extra little things in a pinwheel. It's bad enough trying to keep them in a straight line. But when you've got 3 girls and they're doing a pinwheel, so they can do a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can kick. And then we can maybe do a turn. And now we're still in the line. Boy, that looks impressive to see those girls be able to stay in the line as they're turning, as they're doing other steps. So you can still use that pinwheel. And like I said, is you spread them out. If you have 3 girls, you put 1 up front and 2 in the back. Okay? But this can change. So now they put the 1 on this end forward and have a different line. You change the line this side. So you don't have the kind of formations where you can go into a circle and do a grand right and left. But you do have the opportunity to do some formation. You have an audience over here, you have an audience over here. Most of us dance on a dance floor. We do not dance on a stage. You don't want to neglect these guys. You have 3 girls. 1 can face that way for a while, 1 can face for that way for a while. And then you've got 1, and you can move them around so everybody gets a chance to be in that front and center position. Lots of things that you can do with 3 girls or 4 girls you cannot do with a large group. So don't say, darn, we don't have 12 girls in our group. We only have 3. No, say, great, we have 3. Boy, what can we do with 3 girls? And we can do a lot. Okay?
5 is still a small group.
5, I would consider 5 still a small group. Even if you have 5, I would not want to do anything shoulder to shoulder. I would always want to have it at least good arm's length, maybe 2 arms lengths away from each other, so that you're taking to the floor. You never want to be, if you put them together real close, then they're just in the center of the floor. They look like this tiny little group. And you want them to look like impressive. Spread them up. It can be very impressive.
It would be easier with 7.
I personally like even numbers.
How about your 7?
You're 7? Okay, but not a problem. Not a problem with an uneven number. The reason why I say I personally prefer symmetry. You're talking symmetry. If we're going to do a pinwheel over here and a pinwheel over here, and we have 4 girls, right? You got 2 girls going around. So now, if you have a pinwheel and you're going to do a pinwheel, you have 7. You have 3 and 4. Right. It's going good. You don't have to have that 4th person. The center person does not have to join the pinwheels. They could be doing something on their own. Yeah, you just have the pinwheels going around, and that center person does something else. Not everybody has to do everything at the same time when you're dancing in a group. That's really a big one to get into your head. You can, let's say you have a group of girls that are really great kickers, but you also have some that can't quite get their legs up there. But you want to take this group of girls and you want to show them off. So we have a group of 8, and we have 4 girls that are great kickers, and 4 that are just not so great. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring those 4 girls up and we're gonna let them do the kick line. And we're gonna let them kick. Very impressive for everybody in the audience is gonna love it because you got these legs just going up here. Doesn't mean those other girls are not doing anything. They can do something else. They could be doing claps. They could be out engaging the audience. They could be doing maybe they can do cartwheels. We're gonna have them do cartwheels or something. They can turn. They can, they can do something while that kick line is happening. I always call that eye candy. When you have more stuff happening on the floor than just the one thing, what happens is when you repeat seeing a group over and over and over again, you start to learn their routine. When you do more things where there are other things happening at the same time, now you go, oh, I didn't realize that they were doing that. And you can see the next time, you go, oh, that's neat, I didn't see that. There's something new to see every time because there's so much going on. Some people don't like that. They think it gets kind of confusing looking. That's the good stuff because it shows a lot of energy happening, shows a lot of different things happening, gives everybody a little something else to look at so you don't get used to seeing a routine over and over. I do want to take this point in time where we're talking about pinwheels to illustrate and going back one step, because I wanted to talk about this when I was talking about pinwheels. To illustrate the difference in the choreography so that you understand how different it is to choreograph. When we do pinwheels, you're usually doing 16 counts per quarter, 64 counts for a full revolution, 128 counts to go around twice, right? You can't have a Funkenmariechen go take 128 counts to turn around 2 times. Take a very, very long time, very, very important. You can't even have her do turns for 128 counts. Because it'd be, okay, you can do that, what else can you do? So this illustrates the difference between the 2 types of choreography. But being able to do the choreography for the one and doing the choreography for the other, they help each other out. They give you a viewpoint of where to, how to teach. And that viewpoint is important, which is one of the other things I want to talk to you about, is perspective. Most choreographers make a big mistake. They choreograph from the dance floor, from the perspective of the dancer. That's not the important perspective. The audience is the important perspective. If you want to be a good choreographer, you have to step away from the dance floor. You have to step out into the audience and see what the audience is seeing. And you have to be critical. You have to look and say, okay, I had this idea, I want to see that this idea, and it may be in your mind's eye, seeing it from the dancer's point of view, you think, wow, this is going to be neat. But then when you step out into the audience and you go, well, that doesn't look at all like what I thought it was going to look like. And unless you do that, you don't know that. You're thinking you're doing something great, and when you see it the first time somebody videotapes it, and you see it, and you're going, oh, that didn't turn out at all like what I thought it was. Boy, I'm kind of disappointed in that. So it's very important when you're doing choreography to think of the audience perspective and not the dancers. The dancer isn't important in this, believe it or not. The dancer is the least important part of any performance. The audience is always the most important. Who's the dancer dancing for? Even the Funkenmariechen. I'm sorry, if there's no audience, there's no performance. Granted, if there's no Funkenmariechen, there's nothing for the audience to watch. But she's supposed to be dancing for the audience. The Tanzpaar dances for the audience. The Garde dances for the audience. The audience is the most important part of any performance. They're important to us as dancers. Our club, I'm very pleased of our Alvarad. They always are out there calling out, hoi, hoi. When the girls are kicking, they respond by letting us know, yeah, we like what you're doing. That's always important. So when you see them do something, yeah, let them know that they're doing something good. But when you're choreographing, you have to think of that audience perspective. What do they see? That goes back with what I was talking about with the Funkenmariechen. What do the audience see? Do they see a finished, professional looking performance? performer, or do they see an amateur who didn't quite get their costume right? Hair. How does the hair look? How does the makeup look? Thank you so much. This man with a beautiful mustache gives me a beautiful smile. Yes. When they practice, I don't know how many times I have to say this. I watch girls who start, and they're doing a kick line, and here they are. And I say, the audience doesn't want to see your hat. They want to see your face. And if you practice it like this, you will perform it like that. If you, and that's a big one. Every rehearsal should be rehearsed as if you are performing. It's called muscle memory. If you don't practice smiling, you will not smile. You're going to forget to smile. If you don't practice keeping your head up and looking at the audience, I'm in the audience, I'm on the stage, I don't care where I am in the garden. If I see someone and I catch eye contact with someone, I'll smile at them. I'll nod at them. I've engaged that person. Even in the middle of a garda, I will engage that person. That person is going to think, ooh, me. You know, they're going to feel good. And if I can do that with someone else and someone else, that's where your standout dancers happen, by the way. They are doing that, and you can't help but do it. I'm sorry. It's natural for me. If I'm going to catch someone's face, I'll smile at them, and you'll know I just smiled at you in particular because you were smiling at me. And you were showing you appreciated what I was doing, even if I'm in the line. And you're going to remember that, and so do I. And it's going to make that performance a little bit more special to each of us. And this is, and it can happen from a garda to engage the audience. And they need to be. Yes.
I have one comment, Mr. Kicking.
Yes.
I hate to see those girls when they kick their heels and do their feet like that. They're supposed to be stretched out.
You are right. One of the issues that we have now with dancing, and I was pointing this out to somebody else, if you go, again, YouTube, we talk about it, hear the remarks from Germany. They nail us for wearing these boots, by the way. Yeah, these are considered parade boots only. They are for parade only. The girls in Europe, they all wear little jazz boots, like I used to. And guess what? These boots are very hard to point. You cannot, you really, I have trouble pointing them. Because they look cute, but they're heavy as well. It makes it a lot harder. You feel them after you start kicking. You feel them. Those little jazz boots, so easy to point your toe. They're light. You don't even feel them. The toe points. You are right. It is. It is hard to get them to understand that they need to point that toe. See, look at me. That's me pointing. And if I get up high, now you're going to see the heel. All right. Well, when I kick my leg up there, you're going to see the heel almost. So it is, when you make that choice to go with what looks this cute traditional booties or a jazz shoe, I've always, over and over and over, will say, when you're dancing, wear the correct equipment. The correct equipment is a shoe that is made for a dancer. It needs to be flexible, it needs to be soft, it needs to be form-fitted to the foot. You need to have the right shoe that fits you so that you don't slip slide in it. A heel like this, very easy, and you've got a hurt dancer. You wear them. They're nice, but it's something to think about, and especially if you're getting into an older group of ladies, I would get really ticked if I saw older ladies wearing boots like this.
Who wearing character shoes?
Depending on what you're doing, you have a low heel. Yeah, and it's not a narrow heel. It's the, I know what you're talking about. As long as you're not doing anything that is really kicking up high and doing heavy jumping, where if you're jumping like this, okay, here's where your problem is. When you come down and you land on one heel, and if you see the floor here, you can see the lines. It takes to catch the heel in this, and you got a dancer on the ground. When we wore, the go-go boots, it was even worse. Because they were the plastic heels were so easy to catch. This is a neat floor for a dancer because it's soft. We used to dance on these floors that were pushed together, that were wood, and they would have gaps. I don't know how many times, I'd say every year we had a dancer go on the butt. Every year. Doing a kick, their foot would come off from underneath them, but they'd take a step and down. So it is part of, it goes in, you make a decision. Do you want to have a nice, want to wear the cute little boot? Do you want to wear a shoe that's appropriate? And then you can put your top. So it is kind of a give and take, very good. Let me see here. Anybody have any questions? I do want to deal, I want to be able to answer if you have particular problems within your group, or not problems, but issues that you would like to ask about. I want to be able to deal with those. The last thing I kind of want to talk about is skits. Skits are fun. Our group, we have again, I'm going to say probably one of the best Elverhots, because our Elverhot, I say, hey, I got an idea. Okay, let's go. They come to rehearsal, they listen, their ears are open, their mouths are shut. Listen, look at them. They don't mind if I make fools of them. And they're just so open to everything, and this is what you want. Remember the skit, I'll go back one step. The Elverhot is the host of the carnival party. It is the Elverhot that puts it on. It is their skit. Okay. Sometimes Elverhot can't come up with an idea. Maybe they don't even want to go on stage. Maybe they're. It's not the best thing. It is their area. The girls are the dance. The Elverhot is the skit. I like skits that incorporate Prinzengarde and the Elverhot because sex.
It's fun too.
It's fun. But you can use that as kind of what you're doing. You can get a little on the the little playful side. Well, our Elverhot, I've dressed them up as women more time than anything else. Dieter Kurtz is more comfortable in women's lingerie than any person I've ever known. More comfortable than I am. I wouldn't go on the dance floor wearing those outfits he's worn. He will, and it's wonderful. This is what we want. But therefore, it's also nice to have the girls. The way I look at skits is this. The girls are the straight man, and the Elverhot's the joke. We're the setup, they're the punchline. Okay? So the girls come out, and they do everything right. The boys come out and screw it up. But that's the funny part. Remember, it's supposed to be funny. All right? So a couple years back, we did a really neat one. We did I Enjoy Being a Girl. And I dressed the guys up in women's lingerie. And what was so neat is we had the girls come out first. The girls came out, and we're doing the whole thing in front. And as we're dancing in front, the guys are sneaking in the back. And then when we moved out, there were the guys. They lifted off they were all covered in sheets, and their sheets came off, and there they were in their lingerie. And I mean, the laughter that happened before they even moved, that they were sitting back there. And then when I have a brand new hairdo. The laughter never stopped throughout this entire program. It was just amazing. The guys did great. You can't hold back on that. If you're going to do this, then you got to do it. Wendell, our president this year, he had these little blonde braids, and he was playing with this, tiptoeing around with these little blonde braids. We had, I'm trying to remember, Fred. He had long, long hair. Dieter Kurtz was wearing red bra, a red lace bra, red lacy underwear. He had white with hearts, white stockings with red hearts on them, and I mean, tiptoeing around and doing that. You put it all out. You cannot hold anything back. If you hold back, you're letting the audience know I'm not comfortable up here. You got to be comfortable with it. But this seems to work well, is the girls and the boys. And as much as it's fun that girls want to be funny, we're just not as funny as the guys. We just aren't as funny as the guys. So again, remember when we're talking about strengths and weaknesses? Girls are good for going out and saying, okay, here's how you do a can-can. We're going to really do a good can-can. Then the guys come up and try and do it. Now you have a comparison. And now you go, oh, God, aren't they bad? Yeah, and that's when you start laughing, is because you see there are the girls doing these great can-can kicks, and here are the guys doing it funny, you know. A lot of uncomfortable things. One of the things we did with the Can last year is we had the girls holding onto the guy's legs. We did this when we were doing this, right? Now a girl can do this. Can a guy? No. He can't hold his leg up there. I don't care what he's holding. But we were holding it and we're like this going, you know, it really looked like we were struggling to hold the guy's legs up, but the guys were trying to do what we were doing. It's funny. That's where your comedy comes from. Look back at old movies. You guys saw us do last night? Came out of an old movie. We're doing this looking, right? And back to back, this is old silent movie time, walking around each other where we don't see each other until, there you are. This is all old movie stuff, old slapstick stuff. It works. Having a guy walking across the floor and on the face, in the pie, works. That's where it all comes from. Look at the past for this. Old vaudeville comedy, that's what this is. Old vaudeville comedy. That's what you want in a skit. More people engaged, girls and guys together. There's always a mix-up there. Costuming, very important. Those horses we were wearing last night, the ones with the little pogo ponies were cute, but those of us wearing horses were even funnier. The minute you saw us with those little kitty horses on, we were funny before we even moved, right? The costume, really important. Use your imagination, go out, but whatever you do, go out to all the way out. Don't hold back. Okay, I think I've kind of touched on a lot, but I do want to answer questions. You're talking about, you have a group of 7 ladies.
7 ladies.
And you're trying to get started with.
For next year, this year we have already our day. But for next year, I do need a lot of help.
Okay, is there something, do you have something in mind?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, maybe we can talk.
Okay.
I'm always willing to try to help anybody out. I think the more that we do this, the more that we share with each other. I said last year the same thing. I'd like to see somebody else up here some other time, doing and giving their points of view. I'd like to see roundtable discussions. This is where we move forward. We have to remember this. This is what I'm going to leave you with. We cannot move backward. That's done and gone. We want this to continue to survive, and it's moving forward. Nothing continues to strive if it is choked to death. We don't want to choke it to death with tradition. We want it to evolve, and we want every generation to allow to add to it their part, because this is what's going to make it good. We hold on to the tradition in the fact that we continue to do it every year. We honor the tradition by allowing the next generation to add their parts to it. That means that Garda dance should not just remain. It can't, because after a while that's not interesting to watch. It's right. We need to add that. Okay, that adds a lot more flavor to it. To what extent, how fast it progresses, everybody's going to have to. But please, please, one thing I beg of everybody is to please allow it to grow and share with each other what you know and what you've done. And be honored when somebody steals from you, because it meant you did something good and somebody likes it. And maybe they change it, but they do something that they honor. So, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. If you want to come and ask me something individually, I'm happy to answer. Thank you. For everybody today, I talked a lot.
14 years I've been coming to Ganga. I have never seen anyone who's got more energy out on this dance floor than this lady right here. She's super. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll tell you what, we'll see more of her from time to time. We gotta have more.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, we have all heard so much about that trip. And people come back, and I keep looking for, there's got to be one negative thing, but there's never been any negative thing. And so it's wonderful, and we're so happy to have the two of you here. And even though our group may be a little bit small, I'll tell you what, the word passes, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And we're getting it on tape, so that's gonna be
Oh, that'd be
tremendous
great.
help too.
Mhm.
So anyway, Klaus, it's all yours.
Thank you. All right. Well, there was another lady, she just went upstairs, I guess, to get a jacket.
Okay.
And she is from the GAMGA
Okay.
in Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And she said, oh, it's so cold. So I said, come on, I'll give you a big hug. She said, stay here for a while.
Spell Johanna.
Yeah, Johanna.
Well,
Good lady. Oh, we've been doing, it's another trip for 15 years, 14 years. That's going to be our 15th. And we call it an anniversary. And it's also going to be a big birthday party. That's mine. My 75th. And my wife, 80. We've been doing that trip for 15 years, like I said. Never had a problem. Ensenada is a real calm community. It's a port. It's a container port. It's also a lot of sport fishing there. And they have a lot of races there, which is the Baja 1000, Baja 500. They have festivals up there for the wine festivals, seafood festivals, you know, and it's all run by one committee.
For what, the workshops? Yes. Well, I thought so. Once they got here, yeah.
So where is Ensenada?
Ensenada is about 100 kilometers from the border, San Diego border, which is actually San Isidro border. And the bus takes about 2.5 hours to get there from our clubhouse in El Cajon. We got the parking there. It's secure parking. And you can go and come down, take a bus from El Cajon at the cost of $55. We have, it's a long trip. We have everything written on our information. I'll give them to you right now.
And what time of the year do you do this?
The bus leaves at 3 p.m.
No, but what year, what month, what day?
The month is February 12th, 13th, and the 14th. It's a weekend.
Okay.
You want to?
No, I've got it all.
I kind of figured you. And the cost of it is $165 per person. And that includes a lobster and carne asada dinner. We have a semi-formal evening. And this time we also have a 3-hour open bar. And the DJ for a dance. It's a real nice room. We got our own room on there. Come on in. Our own room where we have our dance. And then on Saturday morning we have breakfast at our hotel, which is Hotel San Nicolas. At 3:30 in the afternoon, we all go to, there's a parade. The parade is about 1.5 to 2 hours long, with approximately 50 floats. Some years, some more, some a year less. They have in the parade itself another about 25 to 30 dancing groups, right? You know, including the third age. The third age is considered 65 or over. Right. There's a king and queen that are in the carriages. She must be what, about 92? Yes. About 92 years old. She just right on the pickup truck. Anyway, it is a fantastic parade. And there are thousands of people there. You can contest that.
Absolutely, it's quite a, without going to New Orleans or down to Brazil, it's about as big a Mardi Gras Carnival parade as I have contact with, and it was a scene, and it's quite an experience when San Diego goes down there and you're part of the parade, you're going down the streets Ensenada. And the streets are just packed, lined with people. They're along the sides, they're up in the balconies of the building.
On top of the roofs.
On top of the roofs. And it's great fun.
Oh, yeah, right. We, as a group, from the San Diego group, buy a lot of beads. We throw beads, we're known for that. And we buy the box of beads, which is 12 gross, 744 beads for $26. And the freight is almost just as much. But it comes out of New Orleans. So a little bit background on the Mardi Gras, which is completely different from what we have in our carnival. Our carnival starts November 11th. Their carnival starts today. Today is the first day actually where the competition starts and finishes for the selection of King and Queen, the Prince and Princess, and the Duke. And also the Kids Carnival.
So where does that tradition start from?
Pardon?
Where does it start from? See, ours comes from Europe.
Yeah,
We start
right.
November 11th and...
Well, it's just like our fashion, right? That's where it actually came from originally. And then
There's a
it's
German settled there.
It comes-
Was it Maximilian or who was it?
Maximilian.
It comes from the Catholic traditions.
Yes, right.
Oh, with the land.
Maximilian actually built a big castle in Mexico
Yes.
City. And we've been all over Latin America, I did tonight. And on the, I'd like to go ahead and go into a little detail of how the selection works and how they're selected. Because in German Karneval, you say, I like the beer, and you like the beer, and okay, I like you better than this one, what for you? Right? And that's it. On there, it's completely different. It starts off, as a young lady, she says, hey, I'd like to be queen. And another guy, he's ugly, I'd like to be their king. That's what it is, the ugly king, right? And they look for sponsors so that they at least have a little bit of money behind them. They have a group of supporters that spread the word. They get cards or, printed with a picture on it. I want to be the queen, so-and-so. And they're plastered all over the stores and wherever by the supporters. Now you have maybe 2 or 3 ladies that want to be the queen, the princess, or the king. For example, to get a lot of attention, there was one guy, he was a trucker. He brought in all his trucker friends with the big tractors, semi-tractors, and went all the way through Ensenada, and all they had to sign, I want to be king, right? It was interesting because they shook up all the windows in the whole city because they can go ahead and rev up the motor and then slow it down and so everybody looked, oh, well, he got the attention, he got to be king. And it all comes down to once they got all it put together and each one has enough votes to qualify. Votes is from the public. They sign up, I vote for you, I vote for you, from all the supporters that help actually the candidate. And then, like tonight is the night when they have a place that's called Computo. Computo is where all the votes are counted, and where every group, every king, they want to be king or princess or king, have to have people supporting them, behind them. They have their costume. The whole group has to have a costume. They have sometimes 20 or 30 people supporting the candidate, right? And they're judged by character, costume, how they behave themselves, and also as a group. As the winner is the king and queen. So from there they have to, from today on, until the 10th, no? They have to have their uniforms ready. The beautiful, you have seen them, it's just fantastic outfits. And they really have to work day and night on it. Because the supporters actually pay for their outfit. Because whoever is the candidate, they don't have the money to pay for it. Right? Now there's also another group. They call the cigüeñas. The cigüeñas are mermaids. They call them mermaids. That's a ladies' group. And they do have a little bit of money. Right? And they have their own nights where they have all the beautiful costumes. It's incredible. And they have their own performance, their own hall and everything else. But ladies only. No men allowed. Why? Because they're pretty skimpy in their outfits. And the husbands don't want the other guys to see their wives in the skimpy outfit. Right? But we would like to invite them maybe next year to come and participate with us here in Las Vegas. This year we had a problem. They couldn't get their visas in time. So maybe next year we'll be lucky. Right? So what I want to do is go ahead and show you some pictures from the parade. And
I'd like to say something. The girls and the guys, they want to be king and queen, need to be singles, no married people. It's a singles. Always.
Always.
And some is students of the university, some is working in the office, but it need to be singles.
Do they put on a pretty good carnival in Mazatlan?
Mazatlan, oh yes.
Yes.
Mazatlan and also Acapulco and Veracruz.
Veracruz.
Yeah, they're enormous. They're actually older than the one then, they've been doing it longer than
Yes.
Ensenada.
They're huge.
Now, is that always that time of year?
Yes, always.
Yes,
It's the weekend before Ash Wednesday.
Yeah,
By
before
the
Ash
10th of
Wednesday.
February, you have
Yes, the same time. And on Mexico and Brazil is the same time.
Yeah, Brazil is the same.
Yes.
New Orleans is really nice. It's from the French, isn't it?
Yeah, Rio de Janeiro, they have a fantastic,
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
yeah, we've been there, but not at the Mardi Gras. But we did dress up in costumes. At least we got some pictures taken.
So is this Champagne Travel your travel agency?
Yes, I own Champagne Travel, my wife and I. We have been in business for 14 years. And we have been taking groups to South America, mostly Brazil and Argentina, Mexico a lot. We have also traveled quite extensively into Guatemala, San Salvador. We did it get around it. Give me a couple of more minutes, I gotta come.
The dresses for the future kings and princesses is made by the designer, very professional designer people. And start the embroideries with time, with time to all the embroideries ready. And the pieces almost the size for the people who want to be king or princess. And start the embroideries. And then long tail and start make. And when the king is ready, have more boats. It cut exactly his body, but the rest of the embrace is ready, done. Only cut to fix and perfect to the yes. It took for almost 8 months in advance. All the embroideries and every choice different. Like Maria Antonietta or something from the ocean. Each chose different motifs and colors. The colors, the designers chose the colors and the fabric and the embroideries. Some embroideries is in silver, some embroideries in different tones, in greens, purples, orange, and put together. And the crown is made special, made in crystals from Austria. And the queens need to be ugly.
That's what they call the ugly prince.
Yes.
Okay.
Some ladies say, oh, the princess, the queen is so beautiful. Why the king is so ugly?
It's like a frog.
Yeah, but this is the costume. The queen, the last year.
So let me know when you see it, you get the best view.
Now.
There you go. Is that better?
Is it working?
Yeah, I think that's as good as it's gonna get.
This is the evening on Friday night. After we have a get together
Is
with
better?
the king and queen, they come especially to visit us. And that is at the disco. And here we're presenting them like an ordinary exchange. We try to make an ordinary exchange, but sometimes they don't have one, so we just give them one. You know. And that's really something for them, including the mayor.
Just, yeah, hit a key. Just touch it. There.
That's our float. We got a 40-foot float we put together with the help of our alpha rod. And we'll all get on 40 people to get on top of it and throw beads. We just have a good time. There's a picture of the public.
This last year.
But at night you can walk around. It's just so many people. But this year they changed it. They put it on the boulevard, way down at the other end of the boulevard. We won't be downtown anymore.
How big a town is that Ensenada?
It's about 400 and some thousand. Yeah, here's that's a princess right there. Isn't that nice? It was 4 years on that, different years and different kings and queens. So I thought it made a different combination for me.
And they all reign for 1 year, just like here?
Yeah, just 1 year. Mm-hmm.
Just like here.
One season.
Yeah. It's a repeat one. Yeah. Macy, I've got another one here.
Well, the season starts now and ends with Ash Wednesday. And then there's absolutely nothing until a year from now?
Yes, well, no Carnival, we do different events,
Can you see it?
like Baja 5.
We had
food
some
buffets.
carriages sometimes where people got on a carriage, you know. Yeah, here's the float. It was like with the Hollywood scene.
The
and you pick who picks the scene? Who
Uh,
picks the type of style?
The style is selected by the committee. The committee, Ensenada doesn't have a carnival group itself
Right.
except us. We're the first one. The carnival is organized by a committee, and that's run by the top one is the mayor, and then everybody else is under him.
Now, you also call it Carnival.
They call it carnival.
Okay.
Yes.
Carnival.
Carnival. Carnival.
Carnaval. Carnaval.
So, let me get the other program on there.
Carnaval. No carnival. Carnaval. It's a C. Carnaval.
No.
Bueno, no sé, para pronunciar same. Like K and K, C and Mexico is the same. Like people carnival, no C. It's not like here, and Mexico pronounce the same. But like here, it is the right is different. But it's always with the C. Yes. That's what I meant. Pronounce like it's just pronounce the same. Oh, in Portuguese. These are folklore dancers in Santo Tomas, 180. Is the oldest
That's the one I have on the
Ensenada.
pictures.
And then is the
But it is a very well-behaved town. We don't have any problems. We can walk up there in the morning until 2 or 3 in the morning, no problem with it. And we always have just a fantastic time, especially Friday night. Also, forget to tell you, we have a potluck party after the parade. So anybody just bring some snacks or whatever, and we're just partying off. And then
How many are in your group?
in our group right now, we got already 45 so far. And there's still a possibility. We will probably be about 60 this year. And the hotel is very nice. It has an Olympic size swimming pool, real nice rooms. And like we said, breakfast at the hotel. And then Sunday morning, right after, we'll go and have get ready for the parade. After parade, potluck party, and then after that, everybody's on their own to go ahead and go shopping or whatever. We're about 3 blocks away from the main shopping district, the tourist area. And there's some real nice restaurants, you know, if you want to have something else besides seafood. And then Sunday morning, we all go over to Luzon's Cantina. Luzon's Cantina is a fun place. We throw beads in the cantina. They got a bunch of deer heads, you know, and up there we just throw beads on top of anybody who wants a bead. It's just a fun morning until the bus leaves in the afternoon. The bus leaves at 5:30 in the afternoon.
The Mexican people love Vietnam.
Oh yeah, heck, if you say, where are you from? I'm German. Oh yeah, amigo. You know. Somebody loves you, German.
Everybody is screaming, Alemanes, Alemanes, screaming in the streets, and a lot of respect to the German people. He loves this.
It just shows you how recognized we are. We were at breakfast one time, that was about 3 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah, about 3 years ago. One of the guys, committee guys came up, hi, Klaus, have breakfast, just amazing. Come on, forget everything, I need you. I said, now what are you going to do? Come on, let's go. So we're just dressed like this. They took us over to the main plaza. And they have, I call it the 3 Heads Plaza because those are the revolutionaries. And there was the Navy band, there was a mayor, all the dignitaries from the state of California, Baja California, all the 3 military groups, to present us with the key to the city. There it is.
Oh. So where are you from?
I'm from Berlin.
Guess where I'm from?
Berlin.
Oh.
Wo denn da?
Wedding?
Wedding? Oh, well, ich bin from the Alexanderplatz.
Oh, okay.
Ja. Und da sind wir heute zum Angststoff bei Zusch. Yeah, and I took the key over to the mayor and I said, Mr. Mayor, does that key fit to go Fort Knox up in another? He says, no, we don't even have one.
Oh, jeez. That's no fun. It opens nothing.
This is it. Yeah. Yeah, that was a pleasant surprise, you know. And very, very few people ever get a key to the city of Ensenada. Boy, in Mexico, it's hard to get. So for me, it was quite an honor.
Well, sure.
And as far as, we can call anytime
When was that?
the mayor and talk to him.
Here,
Or tourism.
last year.
That's last year.
Yes, oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
Our Prinzenpaar.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
I need the address to send the picture. Probably if you want to have a picture with the
Can we have this or?
Yeah, you can have it. We got the original. That's okay, you can have it.
I'll give you this back, I mean, we don't need two of them.
It's okay. Oh, you got one?
Thanks, Calvin.
So what does it look like? Would you like to go?
Well, we're going to Germany, you know, we're gonna be in Germany this year, but.
But maybe next year.
Think about
Yeah,
next year.
something to think
Well,
about.
I can always contact you. There's-
Oh, yeah, you
Send
got
your
those
name
there.
Yes.
My email is on there, my website is on there. On the cruises for
Let me
one
find
watch.
your Klaus.
We also have pictures on
No,
our
no.
tours to
It's
Brazil.
Edith. She's
We
close.
do it every year.
Oh, okay. Okay, sounds
Brazil
good.
too for Carnival?
Yeah, not to Carnival, we got enough Carnival here. But we go there for the Oktoberfest. They got, Blumenau is the biggest, second biggest Oktoberfest in the world.
That's the one they hold.
Right.
And where's that?
In Blumenau, Brazil.
Oh.
What we do is, I can tell you a little bit about it. We go to Rio de Janeiro for 4 days. We go, there you go. There is the Kreisberger is one day with the train that goes all the way up to the mountain. And then the second day we have another tour that takes us over to the Sugarhood. All the way up, you go to one mountain first with a cable car, then transfer to another cable car and go further. Incredible view, the whole city, all the islands out there, it's just incredible.
My son was just in Brazil, he sent pictures and it was like.
Oh yeah. Then we get another
He was
tour.
in St. Paul, São Paulo.
Sao Paulo.
Yeah, São Paulo.
Yeah. And then there is another tour, a day tour. It's an 8-hour tour, an hour and a half bus tour to a schooner. We take a schooner for the whole day, go swimming out on the tropical islands, and for lunch, and then come back. The day after, we have another tour to a Stern factory in downtown, and then we're leaving. We're flying out to Blumenau. Blumenau is Navegantes Airport. And there we stay 4 days. We have a tour to Cambuyo, which is also a vacation town on a real secluded bay. We go there for lunch and take a boat, you know, from Mexico, Cambuyo, or we take a bus, either way, whatever you guys prefer if you're going. And then we go to the Oktoberfest in the evening. We go to a German brewery, which is called Eisenbahn. They all speak, most of the population there either speaks German and Portuguese. Right, but it was all settled in 1850 from Pommern. That's where it comes. There's another town that's called Pomerode. Pomerode has a great big Volksfest. It's this big. It's about the equivalent to the Oktoberfest in Blumenau.
So what's the cost of that tour and how many days?
Well, not yet. I'm going to give you some more. Then I'll give you the price. Then after that, we'll fly out again to Iguazu, which is on the three corners between Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil. Those are 260 waterfalls in one. It goes like this, and goes like this, almost like an M. One half is in Brazil, the other half is in Argentina. So we'll see the waterfalls on one side in Brazil. The next day we go into Argentina, go and see the waterfalls, and go shopping. And then we'll come back. And that's, the total cost is $1,855, that only, plus flights, because they always vary. And the next one, next tour we're doing is October the 15th.
How long are you gone now?
It's 14 days. Actually, it's a 12-day tour, 1 day and 1 hour. And both of them are red ice. The flight is approximately $550. It depends when you book it, how soon you book it. And then we have the national flights. There's 6 national flights in there. And the cost of it is approximately about $350 to $400. So you have to tack on at least $1,000 or a little bit more.
What if you don't want to take the bus from San Diego to Ensenada?
Well, you can drive.
You can drive.
No, but if you want to fly into it, you can't fly.
No, you
into
can
it.
fly.
No flight.
Where you live?
Minnesota.
Minnesota? Well, you could fly into San Diego, and then we get if you come in at the same day, we could pick you up at the airport. Or you could take the airport shuttle.
I prefer,
Or we'll arrange somehow to get you, to pick you up at the airport. Or if I have to do it, I'll pick you up at the airport and take you over to the club. Or
and if you're not in the day, you are in Ensenada.
well, then we'll have somebody else do it.
I don't know.
Yes, we can arrange it.
Remember the people from Germany? You can
Yeah, they stayed
the day
over.
before,
They came, yeah.
They stayed in the hotel, and the next day, we save a shower. We bring the two ladies to the German club to catch the bus.
So,
And it's close to the club, it's a hotel, very reasonable price.
oh yeah, the hotel prices are about $45 a night, a real nice hotel. Yes,
Close
Western.
to the hotel.
It's not that far, it's only about maybe 8 blocks from the hotel to our club. So if not, then the bus could actually stop by and get you. You know, that's the way to do it.
Yes, in the hotel.
Especially if you come in as a group, you know, it makes it much easier.
Sure. Yes, in the hotel.
Yeah. That's Western.
You can do in the hotel.
Yeah. If you need information, phone number for the hotel, we'll be glad to go ahead and email it to you.
The people from San Jose do this way.
Yeah, they're coming in, they're driving into San Diego to the airport, to the club. And then stay at the hotel one night.
Yes, you want to be the last day before, and then take the bus.
That would make sense.
Yes.
Well, unless you want to be a real advantage, you can take Amtrak to San Diego. Well, you know, there's some people really like to be on the train. You know,
Oh, I do it for maybe 5 hours, that's it. Longer.
That's long enough, right?
That's long enough.
From Minnesota, you haven't checked where you have to go from Amtrak to get to San
Oh, is that
Diego.
right? Well, I don't know, you know, I didn't look into that one.
Going through Seattle or going through Chicago and Texas and.
Oh, no, forget it. Just get on the.
You know, hey, I could grow a beard by the time I got there.
And you would look good too.
As long as I did last year.
I've seen you with the beard.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
I hope it
Thank
was,
you.
give you some information about Ensenada and the Mardi Gras. It's almost the same as the Mardi Gras in New Orleans.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But no, in New Orleans, it's more problems.
They get rowdy.
Yes,
Oh yeah, they get a lot.
Ensenada, no.
You know, I have never seen it down there.
I know it's
Never. They There is, it used, this year it's been changed. They used to have it downtown, right? And at night at 11, 12 o'clock, you could have walking anymore. You'd have to follow a choo-choo train, and just push.
Yeah.
But no problems. No problems whatsoever.
Great. That's great.
So, yeah, we had it out here, but we would have all kinds of fights, I'm surprised. Even so, they're short-tempered.
But I think a dozen of our people are going to Germany at this time now,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this year, I guess.
Maybe another year.
Well, maybe another time, At least get an opportunity to get some
There's just
information.
water there that is in Germany.
What's the temperature down
It's in San Diego, right now it's about
Okay.
70.
70.
Yeah, it's an average of 70
there?
degrees.
Super.
Well, that's my temperature. I hope you enjoyed it, and it's been nice meeting you. Huh?
Hi, nice to meet you.
And if you want to go to Brazil, let me know.
We say 80.
Yeah,